The Pawtucket Red Sox and the Reno Aces. They've traveled the long road of regular season competition and the playoffs. Their journey almost over. There's one game left. The Grande AAA Baseball Championship game. And it's next. A couple of hours ago, it didn't look like we had a chance to play baseball here in Durham, North Carolina. A torrential downpour. But guess what? The sun has appeared, and we're ready to play baseball in the Grande AAA National Championship game. Hi, hello, and welcome to Durham, North Carolina, everyone. I'm George Grande. A lot of baseball to talk about tonight in this AAA National Championship game, but a story of minor league baseball, too. Over 41 million fans have turned out for minor league games this year. And to tell this story from top to bottom will be a guy who's perfect to tell it. Big number 36, played 25 years in the major leagues. 16 straight Gold Gloves, 283 victories, none other than Kitty, Jim Kaat. Kitty, what a special night here.
Well, it really is. We could not have a more perfect pitching matchup to give an insight into what minor league baseball is all about. For the Reno Aces, 21-year-old Trevor Bauer. Very unusual warm-up routine, but very talented. Top draft pick of the Arizona Diamondbacks, so he's on his way to the big leagues. Now, for the Paw Sox, we're going to get a look at 38-year-old Nelson Figueroa. He's been to the big leagues on and off for about 9 years, but at 38, he's looking at this game to kind of cap off his career and hope to pitch the Paw Sox to a championship.
Our Triangle Orthopedic Associates picture of these two pitches tells a story, Kitty, of two guys who have pitched well at the end of the year.
Well, they really have in postseason, each with a 2-0 record, great earned run average. They'll try to get it done in different ways. Bauer has power stuff, outstanding curveball, live fastball. Figueroa will tease the hitters, off-speed stuff. He'll try to keep them off balance.
We won't tease you. We'll go right down to the field. It was raining earlier. Mandy Mitchell's with us. Mandy, what's the feel like?
I'll tell you what, guys, the grounds crew did an absolutely phenomenal job with this field. They had puddles all throughout the outfield about an hour ago, but now it looks really good to go. And if we can keep those clouds away from the ballpark, I think we're good to go tonight.
Great way to put it, Mandy, and we will be back with the AAA National Championship game sponsored by Grande on NBC. That's coming up next. Crowd approaching 10,000 here at Durham Athletic Park, the home of the Durham Bulls, the AAA franchise of the Tampa Bay Rays. They packed into this ballpark, and now the weather's pretty good. Earlier, torrential downpour, heavy rain. The grounds crew, Scott Strickland and his grounds crew have done an outstanding job of getting this field ready, and we're ready to play some baseball. And let's check the starting lineup for the Pawtucket Red Sox, brought to you by Grande, part of your life. This lineup looks a lot different than the team that played most of the year with all the call-ups and everything that's changed. Jeremy Hazelbaker, the 25-year-old, will lead it off in the leadoff spot. He'll be the designated hitter. Tony Thomas plays second. J.C. Linares will be your left fielder. And here's the power. Linares, Valencia, and LaRoche. That's the three power guys in this lineup that have produced for Arnie Baylor this year. Bryce Brent's just up. Dan Butler will be behind the plate. Jonathan He will be your shortstop, and Shea Xuan Lin will hit in the ninth spot. This is, of course, a game where the designated hitter will be in effect throughout the course of this game. And you know, you already talked about him, Kitty, but this guy is special. Number 17's the real deal.
He really is. I mean, what a nice down-to-earth kid. Came out of UCLA. He just has a very unusual way to get ready for the game. The Diamondbacks have said, do it your way. And he's done it quite well in postseason and during the season. He's very unusual in that he tries to get ahead with a curveball and then blow the fastball by hitters. A lot of pitchers try to do just the opposite, get ahead with a fastball and then throw the curveball. But he's been very successful this year.
Let's take a look at the defensive alignment for the Reno Aces, brought to you by Quintiles Navigating for the new help. Bauer's on the mound. Brian Buddy, who's really built a relationship with him behind the plate, a veteran. He'll try to help him out. Bortnick, Harmon, Kuhn, Jacobs, Mike Jacobs, a veteran major leaguer, will be over at first. Broxton, Pollock, and Cleveland will be your outfield. That's your starting defensive alignment tonight. And there's Arnie Baylor, longtime minor league operative. He's been in Pawtucket for 2 years, went to Wichita State, one of Gene Stevenson's favorite players, just a dirtbag kind of player. He's a hustler. He's the kind of guy Jimmy, that you really love to see get the chance to manage in a game like this?
He is, you know, a great minor league manager in terms of interested in developing guys and giving them some encouragement to get them to the big leagues, as some of these have already been up there.
So here's Jeremy Hazelbaker to lead it off. During the regular season, 267, no homers and 3 knocked in. This is a lineup that's changed so dramatically during the course of the season. With everything that's happened in the Boston Red Sox organization, there are only 6 players here that were there when the season started. That tells you something about what's happened in Boston and how it's affected Pawtucket.
Once they made that big trade with the Dodgers, you know, they kind of blew the roster up. And if you look at the transaction sheet for the Paw Sox, I mean, it takes 3 pages. These guys have been up and down between Pawtucket and Boston, and actually some of them after this game will be called up to Boston.
They've been a very special group. And tell us a little bit about number 17. And as Brett Butler has told us, and in town also with the Reno Aces, the general manager, Kevin Towers, is here. Bob Gebhardt is here. Mike Bell, the director of minor league operations. All eyes are on this young man.
Yeah, they really are. Number 3 overall pick, the first pick for the Diamondbacks.
That's a bouncer down to second. Gobbled up over to Jacobs, and there's your first out here in the top of the first inning, and that'll bring up Tony Thomas. Who takes care of it. Jacobs will haul it in. This young man went to UCLA, grew up in the Southern California area. Strange enough, he went to UCLA. He roots for USC in football, and he's a big Duke rooter in basketball. So he covers all bases, doesn't he?
He does. It was a lot of fun last night for some of these players. We had festivities at the Cameron Arena. Mike Krzyzewski spoke for a while, and before that, they got to go down on the court and shoot some hoops, and some of them looked pretty strong.
Did you get a shot or two?
I did not. I didn't want to ruin my golf muscles. I couldn't take that chance.
Margie wouldn't let you do it, would
No.
Here's Tony Thomas. He's one of 2 guys in this lineup that have some speed. He's stolen 12 on the year. At the bottom of the lineup, Lynn, 15. And you expect Arnie Baylor and Brett Butler, the 2 managers of these 2 teams, to try to get a lead early and pack this one away early. That's the way the playoffs have gone.
And don't be surprised watching Bauer to see him walk 3 or 4 early in the game. I mean, he'll keep the manager and pitching coach on the edge of their seats. Pitching to him is not an art yet. It's a science, and he's trying to apply that science to pitching. I don't know if it'll work in the long haul. Ooh, nice.
Defensively gloved brilliantly, and there's 2 away. Another look at an outstanding play by Bortnick down at third.
Yeah, one hopper and played it to the side nicely. Once he caught it, of course, he had plenty of time to make the accurate throw.
This is a defensive alignment for Reno that has changed dramatically. The normal third baseman Ryan Wheeler was called up. The second baseman Jake Elmore called up. The catcher Schmidt called up, and of course Adam Eaton was the most valuable player of the PCL and the rookie of the year. So 4 star players called up from this Reno club.
Yeah, this is not the 2 teams you would normally see, but that's the way minor league baseball is. You know, you develop some players, the big club needs them, and they get called up.
There's J.C. Linares in at nearly 300 to start the season.
There's Trevor Bauer's motion right over the top. Some have compared it to Tim Lincecum. It's a one-piece motion. Once he starts, he just keeps going. And there's nothing, you know, everybody looks at how unusual it is, but I was happy that he made a deal with the Diamondbacks. Said, if you sign me, I want to do it my way because I've done it this way. And they've been very accommodating and said, let's see if it works. Now, if it doesn't, they'll suggest that he makes a few changes along the way.
That's a swing and a miss in the dirt. Picked up and taken care of, and it'll be 1, 2, 3 in the first. So through the first inning is Trevor Bauer. We go to the bottom of the first. Here comes Nelson Figueroa. Pollock will lead it off. He goes to the bat rack, and Bauer will take a breather. The Gildan AAA Baseball National Championship game on the NBC Sports Network is brought to you by Gildan, part of your life. By Blue Cross and Blue Shield, local supporter of the 2012 Gildan AAA National Championship game. By Red Hat, connect to an ecosystem of innovation. And by Pert Plus 2-in-1 shampoo plus conditioner. Clean hair that smells good too. In, out, done. Don't be an animal. Use Pert Plus. Check out Facebook.com Pert 2-in-1. Back as we go to the bottom of one, the sun trying to peek through in these late hours of this day in Durham, North Carolina. Great to have you with us. George Grande, Jim Kaat, Mandy Mitchell. Mandy will be joining us very shortly. 69 degrees. Game time temperature. Let's check the starting lineup for the Reno Aces, brought to you by Gildan, part of your life. A.J. Pollock, the center fielder, will be the leadoff hitter. He was the MVP of the championship series in the PCL. Bell, Jacobs, and Cleveland, they're the keys to this lineup offensively. And Bortnick, Buddy, and Broxton will wrap up the lineup. That's your Gildan starting lineup. And on the mound, talk about what a difference from a 21-year-old rookie to a guy who was signing his first contract when Bauer was born, Nelson Figueroa.
And we'll get into what this game means to Nelson as you see his season record. Perfect 2-0 in postseason play.
Here's your defensive alignment for the Pawtucket Red Sox, brought to you by Quintiles, navigating a new health. Nanny Valencia at third, Jonathan He, your second baseman, Tony Thomas over at second, and Andy LaRoche will be your first baseman. Butler catches Figueroa. Linares, Lynn, and Brenz, the outfield alignment for the Pawtucket Red Sox coming in. And here's Pollock to step in against this veteran right-hander. Here's Pollock, good speed, outstanding defender. On the season, pretty good numbers at 368. And this would hit pretty good, right center field, going back towards the wall, looking up. It's going to be off the wall. Rounding first, going to second is Pollock. He's going to take a chance. The relay throw goes over the second baseman and shortstop, and he'll wind up with a leadoff triple. The simple things hit the cutoff band, Jim, and they don't. It cost them an extra base.
Yeah, it sure did. I mean, Pollock with a good swing, deepest part of the ballpark. No chance for either outfielder to get it, but Pollock took a big chance here with nobody out. If that throw hits the cutoff man, he's an easy out at third, but that ball sailed over the cutoff man, and by the time Valencia picked it up at third, Pollock in with a sliding triple.
So sitting at third, the infield stays back at third. Valencia will be tied. Everyone else is back. So the key to this game, both managers said it, Jim, was get a lead early, and Reno has a chance to do exactly that. Here's Tyler Kuhn stepping in the number 2 spot with Bell and Jacobs to follow. You saw the third base coach. That's the veteran major leaguer Brett Butler, the manager of this Reno Aces team. 4th year of managing, and you know, these are two managers that don't do a lot of the little itsy-bitsy little things. They won't tell you to bunt. They won't do the little things. They just say go out and play.
Yeah, Brett's as intense as he was as a player. You know, I had the opportunity to pitch against him when he was with the Atlanta Braves in the early 80s.
Left field, that'll drop for a base hit, and that'll get a run in. So Kuhn will get the run batted in. Crossing the plate will be Pollock, and it's a 1-0 lead for Reno. Job number 1 done for Brett Butler, and that's get a lead.
Tyler Kuhn gets a hanging breaking ball with a man on third, nobody out. That's good hitting. Don't try to pull it and do too much. Slaps it into left field and gets the Reno Aces on the board to take a 1-0 lead.
Congratulations in the dugout. And here's Josh Bell, the designated hitter for today. The switch hitter steps in against the right-handed Figueroa, works from the stretch.
And unlike Major League Baseball, where there's interleague play, these two teams did not face one another during the regular season. Reno Aces out in the Pacific Coast League, and the Paw Sox on the East Coast in the International League.
Reno is the franchise that moved from Tucson. The 4 years that they've been in Reno, Brett Butler's been the manager there each year. And of course, Pawtucket, one of the longtime franchises in the International League. Butler may be the best bunter of his generation, wasn't he?
Yeah, he lived with that bunt. You know, nowadays it's a power game, but Brett ignited that Atlanta offense, dropping down a lot of bunts.
It was over 30 years ago that he played here in Durham in the old ballpark, and Jim, you and I were both here in the old ballpark. They have done a remarkable job rebuilding this park, and then from there, the outgrowth, rebuilding the area around the ballpark. Swing and a miss.
It's amazing what minor league baseball has done for a community like Durham. Let's take a look at the keys to the game, and there's no magic here. If you look at what both managers will look at, how deep can their starting pitchers, Figueroa and Bauer, go in the game? They'd like to stay away from the bullpen early, so that's pretty logical with most managers. When at the bottom, when I say who can stay focused, this has been a long year and a long couple days for these two teams. And it's just a one-game playoff. Some will go on their way to the big leagues after this. Some will go home. So the key thing will be to keep your focus and your attention on this game for 9 innings, and don't let your mind wander about where you're going to go when it's over.
That's Kaat's Keys to Victory, brought to you by Pepsi Bottling Ventures, born in the Carolinas. Figueroa's got him leaning and almost picks him over at first.
Figueroa with quick feet for a right-hand pitcher, and that's what you need as a right-hander, to have a good pickoff move.
In our talks, I don't think there's any doubt that both managers knew who they wanted to pitch in this game.
Oh, yeah. Both managers said these are the guys. When you saw our stats there, they're each 2-0 in postseason.
On the outside corner, the Jacobs, a left-handed swinger. Mike, of course, up and down in the major leagues and the minor leagues. Once got a lengthy stint with the Mets, and he'll bring some power to the lineup. He's in the number 4 spot here tonight.
Yeah, it's an indication of how challenging this game can be. A guy like Jacobs gets to the big leagues, hits a few home runs. You say, well, you know, I'm there to stay. All of a sudden, he's back in the minors. So it's a constant challenge to do what he has to do to learn how to hit big league pitching.
Figueroa from the stretch. Runner stays put, breaking ball down and in.
Now you'll see Nelson Figueroa throw a variety of pitches. He takes a lot of pride in being able to throw them all for strikes. And as evidenced by the leadoff triple, which should have been a double. I mean, if he leaves that ball in the hitting area, he doesn't really have the power to strike hitters out like Bauer will.
On the inside corner, that's a called strike 3, so back-to-back strikeouts. That's Gary Loveloss, the home plate umpire. Mark Lolo's your first base umpire. Mark Rippinger's at second, and Craig Barron, your third base umpire for tonight's encounter. Loveloss is from the PCL along with Rippinger, and Lolo and Barron are the 2 umpires from the International League. The Aces finished 81-63 and were the Northern Division champs in the PCL. And a team that had offense during the year with those players that we told you have been called up. But a team that's really ridden pitching and defense in the postseason to get where they are.
Yeah, it's not fair to really judge these two teams by what they have on the field right now. But you know, they're each team playing more for the uniform that they're wearing, because a lot of their star players are up in the big leagues.
In the dirt, good block by Butler.
We were talking about minor league baseball and what it's done for the community, and it's a different culture when you've been around big league baseball. You know, you come here and you meet club owners that have owned teams for 30-35 years. It's such a part of the community. They get together, and you know, the stories about the young kids. You mentioned Brett Butler playing here, Joe Morgan, I think, at one time, and all the guys. Sooner or later, you know, you've got to get a start in the minor leagues. You don't just wake up one morning and be a big leaguer.
Breaking ball just misses. Joe Morgan, in fact, was the first player to have his number retired, that number 18 here at Durham. BB, Brett Butler, played here over 30 years ago. In fact, he remembered a man who worked around the ballpark. When he came to town, he still had his phone number, and he called him. And he's still here. 30 years later, and he took him out to lunch yesterday.
See, now I would think that long ago, he probably had a 3-digit extension. Did he have the right number?
And there were letters and not numbers on the first.
It was Savoy 345.
You remember that? And you dialed 8 in the hotel rooms too, right?
Those are great days. My former manager, Jack McKeon, was my playing manager in 1958 at Missoula, was out here yesterday, and God, we had some great conversations about those days.
Jack lives in Elon, North Carolina. Drove up. We had a great day. There goes the runner. Swing, and the throw to second will not be in time. A stolen base. So Kuhn steals the base. There's a runner in scoring position with 2 away.
Probably picked a good pitch to go on an off-speed pitch, so he got a great jump. And not a bad throw, but he just, as is the case, most stolen bases are stolen off the pitcher. You get a good jump off the pitcher, and the catcher has no chance to throw him out.
Three-two runner down at second. Cleveland digs in. That's hit pretty good to center field. Going back, looking up his Lee at the wall. That's going to be gone. Talk about instant offense. That's what the Reno Aces have come to town with tonight. A triple, a single, and a home run. And just like that, Reno has a 3-0 lead.
Looked like another high breaking ball. Actually, it wasn't that high, but it just kind of tumbled into the strike zone. And Cleveland waits on it and hits it out to the deepest part of the ballpark.
Get a lead early. That's what Bauer wanted. That's what his manager wanted, and that's what Reno's done. And that'll bring up Taylor Harbin, hitting 6th in the lineup. So Figueroa, a rough first inning. Having said that, Pawtucket's been through this before. Everybody counted them out. Midway through the year, then late in the year after all the call-ups. They were the wild card entrant in the race for the Governor's Cup. Scranton-Wilkes-Barre with a great year that they had. Dave Miley was the manager of the year in the International League, was the favorite in that first-round playoff series. And Pawtucket, the Paw Sox won that and then beat Charlotte, Joel Skinner's ball club, in the second round to get here.
Yeah, they made a nice late run. I believe like 14-3 the last few weeks to get here, and Figueroa's been their ace. Nelson just leaving a few pitches in the middle of the plate here in the first inning.
One hopper down to second. Thomas takes care of it, and that'll do it. But the damage done. 3 hits, including a homer. Cleveland goes round trip, and the lead belongs to Reno. 3-0 after 1.
Good evening, baseball fans. I'm Rob Packard, Vice President of Marketing for Gildan USA, one of the world's largest producers of branded T-shirts, underwear, and socks. It is an honor for me to welcome all of you to the 2012 Gildan AAA Baseball National Championship game. At home and play, Gildan's tees and fleece are worn by aspiring athletes and enthusiastic fans on playing fields and in the stands everywhere. Check out your wardrobe at home, and you'll see that Gildan is part of your life. We are honored to be part of the Gildan AAA Baseball National Championship game. Good luck to both teams, and enjoy the game.
Thanks, Rob. Well put. And for those of you that aren't familiar, if you open up your sock drawer, you probably got some gold-toe socks in there. I know, Kitty, you got some in there.
10 or 12 pairs, T-shirts. Yeah. They're behind a lot of those products.
Thanks to Gildan for sponsoring this game, and also it's a 3-year agreement. Next year, 2013, Lehigh Valley, the Iron Pigs will host the AAA championship game, sponsored by Gildan as well. Lehigh Valley does a tremendous job. They've led the league in attendance again this year. Outstanding. And boy, they've really rolled out the red carpet here in Durham for this week's festivities. Here's Danny Valencia in at over 300, 306. Valencia and LaRoche.
Had a good rookie year with the Minnesota Twins. Looked like he was going to be in the big leagues to stay, and Red Sox picked him up in early August of this year. Got some power. I remember my minor league manager at Charleston, West Virginia, Del Wilbur. You know, and when I went to the big leagues for the first time, he said, you know, getting to the big leagues is a big thrill. Getting there is one thing. Staying there is another. And when you see it, a lot of the players here, you know, they're going through that. You get there and you think, well, I'm here, but it's a constant challenge every day. If you want to stay there, you have to keep up with the competition, try to improve, make adjustments.
Wow. Ripped down the line. Valencia drills one into the corner, rounds first, goes to second. He'll cruise into second with a 2-base hit. So Danny Valencia gets the first base hit for the Paw Sox. He's in scoring position here in the second. A rocket off the bat.
Boy, it sure was. Pitch on the inside part of the plate. Third baseman with power, but he might have to try to find another position in Boston. If Will Middlebrooks gets healthy, he's going to be tough to unseat from that job.
Middlebrooks burst upon the scene in Boston this year, and that precipitated the first of many changes for the Red Sox, with Kevin Youkilis being dealt out of town. Middlebrooks, bright young prospect for the Red Sox, even though he spent time on the DL this year. There's Andy LaRoche, who spent time in the majors as well. Andy and his brother Adam, both for a period of time, were teammates in Pittsburgh. Veteran guy who's added some presence to this lineup as well. And really, Kitty, moving in from third and hauling it in is Valencia, and there's your second out of the inning. You know, there are a lot of stories that surround this game, and you know, we talk about Buddy and his relationship with Bauer, but here's a guy whose career now is going into his 30s. He's been a veteran catcher, never really had a chance at the major league level. Some guys are looking to go to AAA next year. Some guys looking to go to the majors. What's he looking to do?
Wow. I mean, this is just such a great story. Here's a guy. I love this game. He said, I played for 13 years, but this is it, and I'm going to be a fireman. He's going to quit baseball, be a fireman.
Very well respected by his teammates and by his manager as well, Brett Butler. And it's no coincidence that he's catching Bauer. Now, there are different managers have different philosophies. That guy right there, Brett Butler, certainly is at the point where he deserves a look at the major league level. He's been an outstanding minor league manager. 8 years in the Arizona organization, 4 years here at AAA, and he's demonstrated the ability to bring young players along and win.
Yeah, I think what it takes, and Brett knows this, is just get into the interview process and get your name out there, and then it's kind of a process where eventually you may get an opportunity.
Breaking ball wide to Butler.
Boy, and he throws a lot of them. He throws a lot of curveballs. But, you know, I like a pitcher that throws fastball, curveball. There's not as much stress on the arm. The pitch, kind of the fashionable pitch today, is the cutter. A lot of pitchers try to throw. But there's only one, Mariano Rivera, and he throws the real true cutter. A lot of pitchers that throw what they call a cutter is just kind of a lazy breaking ball. So the pitchers that I think can be more successful pitch like this: curveball, fastball, changeup. You know, and forget the trick pitches. I know Greg Maddux did this with Yu Darvish of the Texas Rangers. Kind of took a couple pitches away and simplified. Go with the fundamental pitches.
What is a reverse slider?
I have not come up with that one yet.
Bauer says he throws a reverse slider.
Yeah.
This one corked into center field. Going back is Pollock at the wall. Looking up, he'll haul it in. That one was drilled by Butler. Nothing to show for it. Bauer gets through the inning. 3-0 Reno. On the mound is big number 38, Nelson Figueroa. That matches his age, 38 years of age. He's excited to be starting this game.
Yeah, like a little kid. You know, we talked about it, you know, with this being a one game, you know, have you ever envisioned anything like this? And I said, yeah, every time in the backyard. It's game 7, 3-2 count, bases loaded. Can you make the pitch to get the out? Well, here we are. This is game 7 for all the marbles.
For all the marbles, Nelson Figueroa. By the way, we're experiencing some technical difficulties due to the thunderstorms that are around the area, and we're efforting to correct those as rapidly as we can. Thanks for joining us for the Gildan AAA championship game here from Durham, North Carolina. Nelson Figueroa is a different kind of young man, isn't he, Jimmy? You know, he went to Brandeis University, a bright young man. I mean, he doesn't read comic books. He reads serious books.
Yeah, it was so refreshing to listen to him in the dugout yesterday talk about this game and his career. You know, he born in Brooklyn, Mets fan, got a chance to pitch for the Mets. He said, I remember wearing Doc Gooden's pants, Howard Johnson's jersey, and well, I'll tell you, you wish that some minor league general managers that seem to be influenced by agents and medical personnel could listen to guys who talk about pitching for the love of the game, like Billy Chappell, Kevin Costner. You know, that was great stuff.
We'll talk more about that Kevin Costner, Susan Sarandon movie a little bit later on, and that's all part of the Durham story and part of the Bull story as well. Here's Bortnick to lead it off here in the second.
I think that old park's just down the road a little ways, right? And they've refurbished it, and they play some games there. I mentioned Jack McKeon, my minor league manager, yesterday, and I said, Skip, they could have filmed Bull Durham in Missoula, Montana, too, when we had that year in '58. Very similar.
The only thing Jack takes exception to is that he should have been in the movie.
Yeah, right. Well, he would have been perfect for it.
He would have been ideal.
Yeah.
What a joy to be around.
But that's where, you know, Durham and the Bull, and to give you a little idea of the influence that Bull had on the game of baseball. Now, there are some even here in Durham that don't believe that, but I heard this story from the time I was 8 or 9 years old from my dad. You know, when you hear the term bullpen, and you wonder where that came from. Well, years and years ago, when they were promoting Bull Durham tobacco, they had a billboard in most big league ballparks. And the pitchers, the relief pitchers, warmed up. So all of a sudden, announcers started saying, there's George Grande warming up in the bullpen. That's where it came from.
This one blooped into left. Going back is he won't get there. It'll drop for a hit. So second straight inning, a leadoff hitter on. And that'll bring up Buddy, the catcher. This copyrighted telecast presented by authority of AAA Baseball, the National Association of Professional Baseball Leagues Incorporated, is intended solely for the private non-commercial use of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of AAA Baseball and the National Association of Professional Baseball Leagues Incorporated está prohibida, is prohibited.
Very nice.
Breaking ball drops in there for a strike. Speaking of these two leagues, the International League and the Pacific Coast League, a little bit later on, Mandy Mitchell will be talking to Randy Mobley, the president of the International League, and Branch Rickey, the president of the Pacific Coast League, two baseball lifers. This one drilled into center, sinking over is Lynn, and they'll haul it in. Almost slipped on what is a wet grass. The infield was covered completely. And that's the area where when they took the tarp off twice during the course of the afternoon, all the water was dumped there. But, Jim, when you played, if we had the kind of rain we had today, there was no way you'd be playing tonight.
Yeah, this ballpark is just, this is the way you envision big league ballparks when I was a kid, the condition of it. And as is the case with a lot of major league parks, when the rains stop, they can open up all these drains, the water drains off, and it's very playable.
Here's Broxton, who will hit third in the inning. Runner still at first from the stretch is Figueroa. Figueroa's been around 9 years as a pro at the major league level with stints in Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, the Mets, and the Astros. He's always been that extra guy, the guy that got called up late. And of course this year he bounced around as well. He had 19 appearances with Scranton Wilkes-Barre for Dave Miley, and then joined this club in the second half of the season and was instrumental in their run to the postseason.
He's got a good attitude about it. They asked him yesterday, and he said, hey, I just ran into situations where they said, you're doing well, you just don't fit. There's no room. And so he'd move on. And I think a lot of that, when I see that hard hit foul ball, when you don't have power stuff in the game today, you don't get as many chances to fail. The first thing that you mention a pitcher's name, they say he throws 94. Years ago, you just said he can get you out. And Nelson Figueroa has proved that he can get hitters out. But, they're not always looking for just that at the major league level. They want power and dominance.
Ball and a strike to Broxton. From the stretch, Figueroa. Runner inches off first. This one hit pretty good to right. It'll stay in the park, though. Brents is there, and he'll haul it in. But two away, the runner holds at first, and that'll bring back A.J. Pollock, who started it all in the first inning with what should have been a double, ended up being a triple, a big shot from Pollock.
Yeah, deepest part of the ballpark, but the relay throw, you see Butler telling him to slide. The relay throw over the cutoff man out in short right center field, and that enabled Pollock to get to third.
You talk about the era of radar guns and the era of pitch counts in this day and age, and we mentioned Jack McKeon. When you came up, you were a 19-year-old pitcher for Jack. He took you, he was a player coach at that time, and he was your catcher. And
he was a great influence for me as a young pitcher. He just throw you the ball in the sixth inning with a couple men on and say, figure out a way to get out of it, kid. Some days you wouldn't. You'd get your brains beat in, but eventually you learned, as Warren Spahn told me, and one night when I had a pitching lesson from Spahn, he said, kid, let me tell you one last thing. When the game's tied in the seventh inning, the game's just started. Learn to be your own relief pitcher.
That breaking ball misses. And in your 19-year-old debut with Jack McKeon, you threw 251 innings that year.
I did. But, we were, and that doesn't mean I was Superman or Macho Man. We were just trained differently than the pitchers are today. And I wish that some organization could do that in the minor leagues.
There goes the runner. Throw down to second will not be in time. Second stolen base, so they're taking advantage of Figueroa again.
Well, no surprise that a team managed by Brett Butler is going to utilize some speed. You know, he was a bunter and a speed guy, as George mentioned, and he's going to take advantage of the fact that Figueroa does not deliver the ball to home plate too quickly and gets another runner into scoring position.
Butler, one of a handful of players that was brilliant on the base pass with speed and at the plate too. That's a broken bat into left center. It'll drop for a hit, and the stolen base proves very fruitful. The runner trying to stretch it to second. There's nobody on the second base bag. So the second miscue by the defense for Pawtucket here in the first 2 innings of this game, and a runner's in scoring position, and it's 4-0.
Yeah, really sloppy fundamental play by the Paw Sox. Didn't really hustle after the ball. The run scores, and very alertly, Kuhn checks the outfielders and says, I can get to second, and he does. A couple very sloppy miscues by the Paw Sox early in this game that maybe given Reno 2 extra runs.
So the runner again in scoring position, and here's Tyler Kuhn, who singled in the first run of the game back in the first inning. You know, I don't know what it is with Pollock. He's got that little something extra. He was brilliant in the championship game of the Pacific Coast League. He was the MVP of that series, and here he is, a triple and a single so far tonight. They'll rule it a double.
Well, Brett Butler mentioned when you ask him which kids, you know, which guys could you project as big leaguers? Adam Eaton's already there.
Ooh, real deal.
And leadoff hitter, and he said Pollock, you know, maybe he's a number 4 outfield. You never know, might be an everyday player, but he expects Pollock to be a big leaguer.
Eaton took dramatic strides this year. He was the rookie of the year and the MVP in the PCL. If you saw video of him before this year and look at the job that Rick Burleson has done with him and Brett Butler's done with him, he's shortened his swing. He's much more quicker to the plate, and it sure paid dividends for him this year. That's another base hit to center field. They have a play at the plate. Here comes the throw. It'll be wide. Another run will score. Make it 5-0, and going to second will be the number 2 hitter, Tyler Kuhn.
I'll have to say in retrospect, as I see this ball slapped out into left field and another run scores, you could almost sense in the last couple days talking to those two teams. I mean, Brett Butler said, I didn't get sleep till 3 o'clock last night. He's really excited about winning this game. The Paw Sox, even though they've been champions, Rich Sever is out to talk to Figueroa right now. You know, they spent a couple days in Charlotte after they won, and they came in here a little flat. You could almost tell, you know, the rain, it's been a long time. And I mentioned in the keys to the game, which team is going to be able to stay focused and keep their mind on this game, and right now it's pretty obvious that Reno is that team. That might have been Chris Hernandez that we saw a shot of warming up in the bullpen. Top draft pick of the Red Sox,
and the lone left-hander in this Red Sox bullpen for tonight. So 5-0, and here's Josh Bell, the switch hitter who struck out first time up. Saw Rich Sever. He's been the pitching coach here for 5 years, another former major leaguer, 18 years of pro, 6 years in the major leagues. This is veteran staffs on both clubs. We talked about Arnie Baylor. There's Rich. Gerald Perry's the hitting coach. Next to Rich is Arnie Baylor, the manager. And Gerald Perry also played here when he came through in the Braves organization, an outstanding major league hitting coach. And that's another broken bat, but another base hit. Lynn comes in. He'll have no play at the plate. And just like that, it's 6-0. The lead belongs to Reno. The aces are aces so far in the first 2.
Yeah, it's going to take a lot of heart out of Pawtucket. You know, you wait around to play this one game only. It's not like you go 2 out of 3, and they're picking on a lot of pitches that are down, but there's just not enough bite on those breaking balls. And even though some of them are broken bats hits, they're getting enough of the barrel on them to get it out to the outfield.
Now you talk about numbers, what do they mean? And one of the key numbers in any game is hitting with runners in scoring position. And I guess if you looked at the first 2 innings here,
yeah, they're perfect. 5 for 5.
Not bad, huh? Big swing and a strike. to Mike Jacobs, who struck out back in the first. Arnie trying to think, how can we come back? They've done it before. They counted the Paw Sox out a couple of times in the playoffs and during the regular season, but they bounce back each time. They've got a big road to climb here tonight. In the dirt, blocked by Butler.
A lot of breaking pitches from Figueroa, but there's just not that bite. Whether it's that time of the year, he's pitched a couple playoff games, but it's not as sharp. Obviously, he was very sharp in his first 2 starts. Won them both, a run average of a little over 1.
Kitty, you talk about it. You get to this stage of a season, nobody's really healthy, are they?
Not really, no. It's a long season, even on the minor league level. You know, and their travel is not what it is in the big league level. When you get a look at Nelson Figueroa's pitching motion, you know, there's nothing unusual about it. Just a pretty basic late kick and drive toward home plate.
Two and 1 to Jacobs. A rocket shot that fouled down the right field line.
Yeah, they don't, the minor leaguers don't just get on a bus and take a chartered flight. You know, sometimes they have to take connecting flights. So, you know, here we are in late September. And it's been a long season, you know, a long run for both teams.
But having said that, you took a lot of buses in the early stages of your career. You never flew.
And when you're 19, you loved it. You loved the scenery.
And the stories.
Yeah.
2-2. Figueroa to the stretch. There goes the runner. Up high in the air to the infield. Who's going to take charge? Valencia will, and he'll squeeze it. But damage done again. 4 hits in the inning. 3 more runs. 6-0 Reno leads. Bauer's been staked to a 6-0 lead. The 21-year-old native of Southern California. We talked about his somewhat unorthodox preparation, and we asked him, is it mental? Is it emotional? What is it?
It's more of like a physical thing with me. It's not necessarily superstition. I'm not a superstitious person at all. It's more of just like I know a certain feel that I need to be able to go out there to the mound and feel ready to pitch, and I have a certain way of accomplishing that feel. And so you know, that's where a lot of the idiosyncrasies come from. Is like that's just the way I found to get to that feeling.
He's a unique young man who's got a pretty good arm.
Yeah, he sure does. And I like it. I mean, I hope it works, because you can't put everybody in the same box. You know, I think he'll tweak it. I don't know that he's going to be able to you know, throw like he does in the outfield, but you know, he'll get good advice from veteran players in the Diamondbacks. And wow, that's probably the one chance. Yeah, that's a little tied a little bow tie on him. That's probably the one opportunity the Paw Sox would have to get back in it, is with a 6-0 lead. I always thought Boomer David Wells was about as good a pitcher with a lead. You know, here it comes, strike 1, strike 2, but Trevor Bauer a little more erratic.
Bauer, the Golden Spikes winner, awarded by USA Baseball in 2011. Paul Seiler, the president of USA Baseball, early on said this kid's going to be special. Seiler had hoped to be here, unable to be here, but he said his best of luck and congratulations for Bauer. And you know, I've been fortunate to be a part of USA Baseball and the board of directors. And when you talk to the coaches that worked with him, you had the feeling that this kid, if he could mature, grow up, and at the same time learn how to figure it all out on the mound, he could be something very special.
Yeah, I like his confidence level. I mean, and the fact that, you know, sometimes the first thing a coach will do, you get a pitcher that's been very successful in high school or college, and a coach or somebody will see one little unusual thing in his motion and say, oh, we got to change that. You know, and you say, well, gosh, I've been doing it that way for a long time and winning. Let me try it my way first. But that's been really the only downside so far, is what you're seeing right here in the third inning, is sometimes he just has a passing acquaintance with that strike zone. He's got to get reacquainted with it.
Talking to Kevin Towers, the general manager, before the game, he said, you don't know, he may walk 3 or 4 in an inning, and we're just keeping our fingers crossed. He walks his first, so he's on, and here's Cheshwan Lin in the 9th spot. And if you're counting, how many balls in a row?
Half a dozen. Well, it's a good thing that Trevor has Brett Butler managing him and not Earl Weaver. Earl will be pacing up and down that dugout with a 6-0 lead. Yeah.
These days he'd be down in the alleyway, right?
Yeah, there'd be a little smoke coming out of the dugout.
Jim Leland's spot, Jimmy's spot. 8 straight wide ones, 2 straight walks, and that's about the only thing at this stage that can get Pawtucket back in the game. And out to have a little checkup from the neck up is Mike Parrott, the pitching coach. Mike's been around. Parrott, 11th year of AAA, major league pitcher in his own right. And you touched on it earlier, Jim. I think the one thing that this organization has done, they've treated Bauer with kid gloves, not saying you've got to do this, you've got to do that. They've worked with him every step of the way to try to help him grow into his role.
Yeah, they've made suggestions, subtle suggestions. Do you think you'd like to try this? And I think in due time he will. The expectations for a top draft pick are so high, and you forget he's 21 years old and he's already pitched a few games in the big leagues. It's going to take a while to, to harness that stuff and learn how to organize his stuff, pitch with a lead, not be afraid of contact.
So 2 on, nobody out. Top of the order once again. There's Hazelbaker bound to short to second his first time up, and there is a strike after the visit by Parrott. Pretty good speed on the bases here. Baylor hoping somebody can come up with a big hit here and get his club back in it. That's up high. By the way, we want to say hi to everybody who's back at McCoy Stadium in Pawtucket. Mike Tamburo and the whole organization have put the game on the scoreboard out in the outfield, and everybody's huddled around there, even though there's some inclement weather moving in there. They really appreciated the work that Arnie and his staff and this club did this year. And they've been a very loyal fan base, and maybe one of the most unique fan bases in all of sports, because they are so close as a AAA team to the major league team, the Red Sox. They're only a short drive away, so what happens in Boston very much affects what happens in Pawtucket.
Sure. Go to a Red Sox game one night and a Paw Sox game the next.
Or sometimes on the same day.
Yeah.
Day game, night game. Which you'd probably do.
Exactly.
1-2 the count. Locked him up. Did he go around? Yes, he did. A bounce back effort by Bauer here.
And that's what Brett Butler was saying. That's really what he wants to do right now. It's very similar to what Steven Strasburg does on the big league level. Is there's a desire to strike hitters out instead of just get them out. And with a 6-run lead right now, I think over time, as he matures, he'll learn how to, kind of forget about all the off-speed pitches and the variety of pitches. Just throw fastballs and make them hit the ball.
That kicks away, will go all the way to the backstop. Both runners will advance to scoring position.
I say just throw fastballs, but I would say, have more trust in your fastball and not think you have to strike everybody out. Don't be afraid of contact.
You pitched in the major leagues for 25, nearly 383. We're a pitching coach.
I was.
And when you think back, who was the 1 or 2 pitchers that you felt you were able to get to help? You had Tom Browning, who pitched a perfect game. You took guys who were borderline pitchers and eventually made it in the major leagues.
Well, I don't know. I think Brownie and I connected real good, and I don't think that I gave him anything special. I try to make them believe that they were big league pitchers and convince them that no matter how hard they threw, if they threw strikes and changed speeds and got ahead of hitters, they could be successful. And as you know, Tom Browning was a great example of that. I don't think he ever threw the ball over 88 miles an hour when he pitched his perfect game in 1988.
Runners off second and third. That's in there for a strike.
Sometimes being a successful coach, you know, less is more. There's always such a tendency to you know, one guy makes one bad pitch, well, let's change this or this. And these guys, you know, they're all talented. Trevor Bauer's very talented or he wouldn't be here. So just kind of sit back and see if he can get himself organized and work it out himself.
2-2 to Thomas. That's up high, will go full.
See, there's an example. You got a 6-run lead, 2 men on, 2-2 count. And a breaking ball, I mean, he might have struck him out with it, but it's a bad percentage pitch. You know, challenge him with your fastball. He might pop it up, but now you're in danger of walking the bases loaded, and then the, you know, next to the tying run comes to the plate.
Full count, 3-2. Did he go? Yes, he did. Thomas is asking them to appeal down at first, and the home plate umpire, Gary Lovelow, says, I don't have to. I saw it myself.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a swing or the pitch. Well, he held up in, I think he held up in time. Or did he call it on the swing? It was borderline knee high. Aces might have got a little break on that call.
Fourth strikeout. 1 in the first, 1 in the second, 2 here in the third. So while Bauer's walked 2, he struck out 2, and here comes J.C. Linares, who struck out to end the first. And it's somewhat of a self-fulfilling prophecy too for young pitchers. You walk a batter, and now all of a sudden, after being in a groove, you've got to pitch out of the stretch. And for many young pitchers, that transition from wind up to stretch can create more problems with control. Dribble down to third. Portnick has it across, and that'll take care of it. A promising inning. Back-to-back walks to start it, but Bauer gets out of trouble. And the Paw Sox continue to trail in this one. Reno 6, Pawtucket nothing, in the Gilded AAA championship game. This Gildan AAA championship game, a joint project of the International League and the Pacific Coast League. Mandy Mitchell standing by with the Pacific Coast League president, Branch Rickey III. Mandy.
Hey guys, you're right. This is Branch Rickey III, the president of the Pacific Coast League. Now, your guys are on top. You have to be pretty happy with the outcome so far.
Happy so far. So far is the main phrase in that. We're in the third inning, so in the Pacific Coast League, we know don't count your chickens until they're hatched.
Now, speaking of the Pacific Coast, you guys have had a lot of success lately. The attendance is up. Minor league baseball, very popular in that league. What have you done to facilitate that?
Well, there are an awful lot of things that go into successful operation of minor league franchises, but basically the focus is keep your eye on what it takes to please the fans. And we have a fan-friendly product. We have an affordable product, family-focused recreation. We've done an awful lot with new ballparks in the Pacific Coast League and throughout minor league baseball. But the old days where it used to be our stands were filled with just those people who were diehard minor league baseball fans are gone. If you look around, look through the stands, our stands are filled with children who are getting their first exposure to professional baseball in many cases.
Now, you've got kind of a famous name for baseball fans out there. Branch Rickey, your grandfather, responsible for signing Jackie Robinson. What does it mean to you to be part of that family and to continue the success?
Oh, my goodness. Well, I have to admit that it's a wonderful legacy for me. It's a proud legacy. And I'm trying to carry on that tradition in the best way. And certainly what we're doing in minor league baseball, I am very proud of how we are bringing this wonderful product to so many smaller cities throughout the United States. So I hope my family is up there looking down on me and smiling.
All right, thanks a lot, Branch Rickey, the president of the Pacific Coast League. George, back to you.
Thanks, Mandy. Great job. Great to have Branch with us. Luck is the residue of design.
Yeah, I still use and have early in my career got that advice from Del Wilbur from Branch Rickey as a pitcher. And, one of the things that Branch said was throw strikes for 5 innings and low strikes for 4 more. You'll have a 9-inning complete game.
New pitcher on the mound for Pawtucket. Chris Hernandez comes in to take off. He's faced off with a base hit by Cleveland, so nobody out, 1 on, and here's Harbin. And this is the lone left-hander that Arnie Baylor has in his bullpen, a guy who, again, figures to be a pretty good prospect.
First draft choice out of the 2010 draft that has made it to AAA. Comes out of the University of Miami. Not a particularly hard thrower. Throws a lot of breaking balls like that pitch right there. Kind of a pitchers today call it a cutter. It's really more of a slurve. Has a big break to it, but so far, the people that have followed him said he breaks a lot of bats, a lot of right-handers' bats. He can get it in on the handle.
Right away working from the stretch to Harbin, who bounced out first time up. So Pollock and Cleveland have done the damage. Pollock 2 for 2, a triple and a double. Cleveland a homer and a single, and there's a walk. So Arnie Baylor goes to the bullpen trying to get some quick outs, and right away first 2 on here in the 3rd inning. And here's Tyler Bortnick, the 3rd baseman, who singled to lead off the 2nd, an inning that the Reno Aces picked up 3 runs.
Yeah, the Paw Sox a little flat in this one. I mean, you can almost tell watching the first couple innings, watching them take their pregame stretching, things like that. They're a very enthusiastic team, Reno. And I think the Paw Sox just got caught early on a little bit flat and on the verge really getting blown out.
Tell you one thing, Kitty, there's no quitting that guy in the red jersey in the dugout. Arnie Baylor played for Gene Stevenson at Wichita State, was always one of his favorite players, a hustling ball player. And he's got a lot of friends through Major League and minor league baseball for the way he's conducted himself, the hard worker that he is. A ball, 1 strike from the stretch, that's fouled off.
Well, if you played in the Wichita State program for Gene Stevenson, I had a chance to do the College World Series for many years. A lot of those college programs, they're going to drive you, make you play it right. Mike Lansing, outstanding shortstop with the Expos, came out of there. And going back before him, Joe Carter, World Series hero.
Touch 'em all, Joe.
Yeah.
Tom Cheek's call, always one that'll be remembered in Toronto. That's way wide. Rick Burleson, the first base coach for Reno, down in the corner of your screen there. Another guy who's been so instrumental in the growth of this franchise. Burleson, a veteran Major League player with the Red Sox, of course, speaking of Pawtucket and Boston, but a guy who's spent 13 years in the major leagues, was one of the best shortstops of his era, a Gold Glove winner, and been an outstanding coach through the minor leagues too.
And to give you an idea of how successful big league players have to come up through the minor leagues. He was a big part of the Paw Sox in 1973 when they won I believe they won the International League title that year.
There go the runners. Swing and a bouncer down to second. Takes a tricky hop. He handles it. No chance for the double play. They'll get 1. So sending the runners avoids the double play. And so far it's been Brett Butler kind of baseball. They steal 2 bases, send the runners, and they avoid a double play there. So second and third with 1 out.
Yeah, productive out. A couple men on. Put the runners in motion. Even though it's a ground ball, you stay out of the double play. Got a chance to add to your lead.
Here's the catcher, Ryan Buddy, hitting in the 8th spot. 2 out there and a 6-0 lead already for Reno. Great to have you with us. George Grande, Jim Kaat, Mandy Mitchell. That's way wide. Good job by Butler to haul it in.
Yeah, the interview Mandy just did with Branch Rickey III and some of the things he mentioned, you know, we have to do more than just attract the avid baseball fan. That's true in the big league level too, and the one thing both big leagues and minor leagues did, a lot of promotions.
High in the air to left. Going back is Linares at the wall, looking up. He'll have room and haul it in, but sending the runners produces a run here. The runner goes to third on the ground ball. The sacrifice fly plates the 7th run for Reno, and it's 7-0 Reno with the lead. Buddy with a sacrifice fly to left. Yeah, Branch mentioned the new ballpark. Since 1990, there have been over 130 new ballparks in minor league baseball. Part of the story and reason why that over 41 million fans turned out again this year to watch minor league baseball. And you and I were talking about it last night. It's been great to be with baseball lifers, the minor league lifers. The Max Schumacher of the Indianapolis Indians has been in it since the 50s. The Dave Rosenfield down from Tidewater in the Norfolk area. You go down the list, Ken Schnocky. You know, one after another, these guys have spent their lives in baseball, not for big money, not for accolades, but because they love the game.
That was so cool today when you were standing in the lobby and Max Schumacher came over and introduced himself. Said he was with Indianapolis, and I said, oh, how long you been with Indianapolis? And he, 30, 40, whatever. And I said, well, you weren't there. I played there in '60 when Ted Beard was the manager. He said, oh, yeah, I was a ticket taker then. He said, I remember your teammate Harmon Killebrew coming through as yours. So there's a guy who sold tickets for a couple $100 a month, and then I think he's an executive, isn't he now, with the Indianapolis franchise?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and Max has been one of the true lifers in the game, who's really kept that franchise together. They have a brand new ballpark, downtown Indianapolis. It's in a beautiful location. And you know, the great story of that is the White Sox at that time had Harmon Killebrew. Right. Had a chance to get him at the minor league level. They didn't think he'd be a hitter.
No. Harmon was, he's an example of that. In those days, the guys that got big bonuses had to go to the big leagues and sit for 2 years, and he wasn't, you know, he did that as a 17-year-old, and it took him a few years to develop his talent. And Indianapolis had him, and he wasn't hitting well, and they say, you got to get this guy out of there. And he went to Chattanooga and got straightened out and became a Hall of Fame home run hitter.
Broxton flied out first time up. 2 balls and 2 strikes to him with a runner on second and 1 run in here in the 3rd inning. Now, Kitty, you were a teammate of the killer, Harmon Killebrew, and I was blessed for 30 years to MC the ceremonies at Cooperstown, and one of the joys for me was spending time with Harmon Killebrew, one of the greatest gentlemen I've ever seen in the game.
No matter who you talk to in the media, my partner at MLB, Bob Costas, who's done a lot of interviews and met a lot of high-profile athletes, as you have, see Thomas not quite able to come up with that ball. When you see a player like Robinson Cano or somebody on the big league level, you realize the skill needed to make a play like that. Thomas comes in, gloves it, just can't make the transfer glove to hand and make the throw, and now the Aces have first and third.
That'll go as an infield hit, so first and third.
Yeah, Harmon is probably known among the media as the nicest superstar Hall of Fame athlete ever. You know, he always had treated everybody the same, whether you were selling popcorn or hot dogs down on the corner or whether you were a superstar athlete. I was so proud to be his friend and teammate for 16 years.
And you delivered a brilliant eulogy at the ceremonies in Minnesota after he passed away. So first and third, 2 away from the stretch. The lefty, Hernandez. I'll never forget the story he told when he was inducted to Cooperstown, when he and his brothers and friends were playing baseball on the front lawn, and his mom came out and said, you know, you're going to ruin the grass. You can't play here, and wait till your father gets home. Dad came home at dinner, and she told the story, and he told Harmon's mom, dear, we're growing kids, we're not growing grass.
Yeah, that story has circulated around, and I remember it vividly from the day I heard it in 1984 when he was inducted into the Hall of Fame.
That's something that young man will remember. Maybe not that long as you remember it, but that's a baseball souvenir here. You talk about Branch Rickey's comments about entertainment. The Paw Sox are represented by their mascots, the Willie Bull. Durham represented here as well, and of course the Reno Aces represented too. Hit pretty good down to right in the corner. Brent's going over, and it's off his glove. It'll kick all the way into foul territory. And figure that out.
Not much going right for the Paw Sox. Maybe a little dark down in the corner. This ball slicing away from the right fielder. And got leather on it, just couldn't hang on.
That'll go as an error. And he probably could have been sitting at third. Broxton was sleeping at the wheel.
Yeah, it's getting ugly early here for the Paw Sox. You mentioned family entertainment. You see the kids and talk about all the promotions, and that's one item in minor league baseball that's really changed. In my days playing minor league ball in the late 50s, the promotions were for the players. Because nobody was making any money. My roommate was Sandy Valdespino in Missoula. Sandy was our leadoff hitter. Well, if he got on, scored the first run, it was a pizza from Stockman's Pizza. If I struck out like 10 in a game, it was a couple banana splits at Dairy Queen.
That's dribbled out in front of the mound. Hernandez barehands it, and they'll get the out. But another run crosses the plate on the error in right field, and the lead belongs to Reno as we hit the break. Reno leads the Paw Sox 8-0. And this is a night for two teams fighting in a one-game playoff championship. It's a night of players, but it's also a night of celebrating baseball here in Durham in this brand new ballpark, and the fans that have always been so loyal to the game of baseball. To tell us part of that story, let's go back to Mandy Mitchell.
Hey guys, you know, this is the Durham Bulls Athletic Park. It opened in 1995. Before that, the Bulls played at the Durham Athletic Park, and that's only 2 miles from here. It's still open. A college team plays that. They still have some events there. You're looking at some old video now. This is just awesome stuff. The Bulls played there from 1926 to 1994. That is the ballpark where the 1998 or 1988 movie Bull Durham was filmed. Of course, most of us have seen that. And you remember this bull. Now, this isn't the original bull. This is a replica of the movie, but it still does the same thing. Smoke comes out of its nose, and people that are coming here to Durham get really excited to see the bull. So, guys, it's just a very historical place to be here in Durham. Just really the home of minor league baseball.
Mandy, what's your favorite concession here? You come to the ballpark often. You're all around the town, and you've watched the growth, not just at this ballpark, but all the businesses around it. What do you do when you come to the park?
I sit and I have some popcorn and drink a cold one like everyone else, guys.
We're with you, Mandy. Great job. Well, while all this has been going on, number 17's been taking care of business. Jimmy?
Yeah, he'll dance in and out of trouble. 17 being Trevor Bauer, and you know, as Ryan Buddy, his catcher, said, you know, kind of rising. You know, he does it his own way, and you know, even when he pitches bad, he's pretty good. But I think the Brett Butler and the whole staff are accustomed to seeing him. He's not going to pitch a lot of clean games right now. He's going to have a few base runners, but hey, he's given up one hit and he's pitching a shutout.
And that one hit came off the bat of Danny Valencia to lead off the second inning. He doubled to left. The Paw Sox have had a couple of chances. The leadoff double in the second, and then back-to-back walks to start the third, but Bauer's buckled down each time, and even with 55 pitches through 3 innings, he's been able to keep control as his offense have taken over this game thus far.
I think if he could give Brett Butler 5 innings with this kind of lead, he'd probably go to some more experienced pitchers in the bullpen. He doesn't have a lot of stress-free innings, you know, a lot of clean innings. Throws a lot of pitches, a lot of breaking balls.
That's a walk, so marching down the first, leadoff hitter on. Let's take a look at how Bauer's gotten to where he is, Kitty. He has been in control early on. strikeout in the first, another in the second, and 2 more. 4 strikeouts so far in this one through 3 as he walks the first and the fourth.
Yeah, I've seen that good overhand curveball, but in talking to him, you said he's got like 8 or 9. He's got a what is it, a reverse slider?
Yep.
He's got about 8 or 9 pitches. I've only seen a couple.
Now, you talked about veterans, and here goes Buddy out to talk to him, but you saw the shot of Brett Butler just a moment ago. Right next to him is a veteran pitcher who spent a lot of time in the major leagues, Brett Tomko, and Brett has really taken Bauer under his wing and talking to both Brett and Bauer. And Brett was the kind of a young pitcher too that was very headstrong, and he clashed with pitching coaches and managers, and what he's tried to do, and Butler's really tapped him into this, what he's tried to do is tell him, look, they're trying to help you, and I learned the hard way.
Right.
Maybe you can learn better than I did. And he's been a great asset to them.
Yeah, that's helpful to have. Here's Brett Tomko, 39 years old. He's pitched for Jack McKeon when Jack was managing at Cincinnati, so he's been around the block a couple times.
Big swing and a pop up to the infield.
Yeah, I mentioned how the game has changed in the minor leagues in terms of promotions, and you know, players back in the 50s that the exciting thing about being a player in the minor leagues, like if you played in Midland, Texas, and you were a home run hitter, they didn't wear helmets then, but my teammate Camilo Pascual had a brother named Carlos, big home run hitter in the Texas League. As soon as you hit a home run, you took your cap off and you ran around the infield where the stands were, took it upside down. They'd throw silver dollars and stuff in it. You pick up a few extra bucks.
To save any of those?
Well, I never hit many home runs, but I know all the home run hitters in the Twins. Actually, at that time, we were the Senators organization, wanted to play in that Texas League.
Now, most people of your generation and just after say that Bert Blyleven had one of the best curveballs. Camilo Pascual had a dandy, didn't he?
Yeah, they both had. We always referred to the curve as Uncle Charlie, and I would say both Bert and Camilo had Lord Charles. I remember when Calvin Griffith and Bert was in the minor leagues. And we're talking about the minor leagues today because a lot of you might, you hear those names and you think he's a big leaguer, but at one time he was a minor leaguer. He had to go through that to get there. And Calvin Griffith said, we have this kid named Bert Blyleven who may have as good a curveball as Camilo Pascual. Bert's was harder. He had a harder curveball.
Popped up by Brent. Into short left center, under it, calling and hauling it in is Pollock.
Bert was like Michael Jordan. I'll never forget there was a kind of a low-level executive in the Twins organization when Bert came up, and he said to me, when you go to spring training, you got to work with Blyleven because he sticks his tongue out on his curveball, which Michael Jordan did. And I said to this fellow, well, if the hitter's looking at his tongue, he's probably not going to hit his curveball. And if Bert's throwing his curveball over the plate, they're not going to hit it a lot. So I don't want to pass on that, telling him that he sticks his tongue out on his curveball.
Michael got away with it too, didn't he?
Yeah.
Brent flies out, and here's Dan Butler who flied out his first time up. So again, a leadoff batter on. And good news for the Paw Sox. 3 times they've had the leadoff batters on in these 4 innings, but they've been unable to push a run over. Breaking ball fouled off again.
Yeah, Bauer has a really, at least from this perspective, really good 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock overhand curve.
There are some similarities to Tim Lincecum, some differences though too, and you wonder, as you look at Tim Lincecum now, what do you think his difficulties are this year?
Hard to say without being there up close and personal. The logical thing is when you see a guy like Bauer and then you see Tim Lincecum and something goes wrong, they'll say, well, it's that freaky motion. But that freaky motion, or that what they call it, got him a couple Cy Young awards. So you never know whether it's very fragile, this game of baseball, as we've seen some hitters that have been in the big leagues and now they're down here in the minor leagues. Same thing for a pitcher. You lose a little command of your breaking ball and you become a one-pitch pitcher and start getting knocked around.
1-2, bang down to third. That's a fair ball heading towards the corner. Butler rounds first, goes to second. Valencia will stop at third, and he'll pull back and go back to first as Butler. He was halfway to second, and the throw came into third, but he slammed on the brakes.
Took a breaking ball, pulled it down the line. Nice bounce to come out of the corner there and keep the hitter at first base.
So instead of second and third, it's first and third with 2 away. And here comes John He, the shortstop, who walked first time up. There's some nights when just about everything goes right. The ball bounces your way. You get an extra base here, an extra base there. So far in the first 4, that's not been the case for the Paw Sox. Fastball inside corner for a strike.
That must be the maybe that's the reverse slider. I saw that one running in on the right-hand hitter. That's got a little different look to it than his ordinary fastball. Curve misses.
2 balls and 1 strike. Wow. Reno's perfect with runners in scoring position, 5 for 5 so far tonight. Pawtucket 0 for 6 tells part of the story of this one in the early going. He digs in. That's a strike inside corner.
It's a little insight into the 2 pitchers. Nelson Figueroa has to be very, very fine with his pitches because he's not going to strike out a lot of hitters, whereas Bauer, even though he can be a little erratic, he's got the ability to do what he's doing right here, come back and strike out hitters, get out of tough spots, and he's done it so far tonight.
2-2. He works low from his set. Any preference for you as you set with runners on, high or low?
I think it's a comfort thing. I know the Yankees, Jabba Chamberlain, Larry Rothschild, their very astute pitching coach, thought that with his hands in a little higher position, his arms would be a little bit more relaxed, get the ball up into throwing position a little quicker. That might be something they'd look at over a period of time.
Full count. Second walk of the inning.
See, they don't get too concerned in the Reno dugout right now because this is standard for watching Bauer pitch. The only problem is that even though you have an 8-0 lead, you do that and then one bad pitch and all of a sudden your lead is cut in half. But they're not going to make a lot of suggestions to change him this early in his career. They're going to let him kind of work it out for himself.
Trevor has walked 2 and given up a base hit in the inning. Still no one has scored, so the bases are loaded. Here's Lynn, who walked back in the 3rd. Breaking ball wide. Now you look at his numbers, and he's been 91, 92 in that vicinity. Not 95, 96. He calls himself a power pitcher, and that's more of a mentality, isn't it, than velocity?
Yeah, I think so. He would say power pitcher because he strikes a lot of hitters out. You know, if you took an average big league fastball probably would still be the average. I would think would be less than 90. I'm not a big believer, and I don't pay close attention to the radar gun other than the difference in the speed between your pitches. I think that could be beneficial.
Once again, he's behind 3-0 with the bases loaded. No place to put Lynn. Brett Butler saying, you know, there are times where the train starts to go off the track, and I'm ready to go out and talk to him, but I wait that extra instant. Try to hopefully he can get his way out of it, and he usually finds a way to get out of it. This time he doesn't. 3 walks and a base hit in the inning. That's the first run, and the Paw Sox fans that are here, and there is a big contingent of Paw Sox fans that are here. Some of them have come from Rhode Island, from the Pawtucket area, and some of them live here. There's no doubt that when Pawtucket comes here to play during the regular season, it's a situation where they get the opportunity to come out and cheer on for their Paw Sox, and of all the visiting teams, they have the best representation. That forces in a run, and for the first time there is some action in the bullpen for Reno. That's Mike DeMarc, who starts to loosen in the bullpen. 2 lefties and 6 righties in the bullpen for Brett Butler. And you talk about pitch count and where we are in a season. They've tried to be very judicious with Trevor. He started at Mobile, then has been here at Reno, and he had a brief stop in the major leagues. And this is the final game of the season. So they want him to leave feeling good about this year and this night.
They're on an out count right now.
Yep.
They want him to get one more out. Might let him pitch the 5th if he does, and see if he could qualify for the win.
79th pitch coming up here. That's up high. And you can't talk about young pitchers and pitch count today without talking about the Strasburg situation in Washington. Your feeling on it?
Well, I feel badly for Steven Strasburg. I've been quite outspoken about it. And, you know, the Nationals have they took a stand early in the year, and they really couldn't go back on it, and they painted themselves in a corner. I think they wish they probably would have handled Strasburg like the Braves handled Chris Medlin, but they couldn't go back on it now. And I really feel badly for whether they do it the right way. Time will tell, but gosh, when you got an opportunity to pitch in the World Series and that doesn't come along that often, I just feel bad for him that he's not going to get a chance to do that if the Nationals were to go.
Jeremy Hazelbaker, the leadoff hitter at the plate, fouls it off, and it's 2-2. A walk to Valencia, and then after 2 are out, a single by Butler, and back-to-back walks to he and Lynn have produced the first run for the Paw Sox. Hazelbaker trying to dent that 8-1 deficit here. The 25-year-old digs in. Hazelbaker calls for time. Setting up inside his buddy. And boy, did he dot the I. So 3 walks in the inning help produce a run, but Bauer battles back, strikes out his 5th of the night. It's an 8-1 lead for Reno. Paw Sox are finally on the board. Never give up guy. Arnie Baylor's downstairs, and right next to him is Mandy Mitchell.
Hey, Arnie, your guys finally got on the board last inning. Are they starting to figure out Trevor Bauer? They're getting much more excited here in the dugout.
Yeah, as long as he walks guys, we're okay. You know, if we get runners at third base in scoring position, we've struggled. But, you know, he's helped us out a little bit and gave us some chances. Hopefully, you know, I don't know if they'll be bringing the other guy in, but he's getting his pitch count up probably. But they're just playing a little better than we are right now.
Now, this game has a Game 7 feel. There's no tomorrow for either team. Does that change your managerial style at all and your strategy?
Yeah, it's tough when you're down 8-0. It changes it a lot. So we just have to hope we, you know, he can keep walking some guys, or we keep getting a few hits to keep getting chances. We've had some chances, and we haven't come through, and they've got the 2 out hits, and like I said, they've played a little bit better than we have right now.
All right, thanks a lot, Arnie Baylor, manager of Pawtucket. George, back to you.
Thanks, Mandy. Great question. And the story is getting the runner in from third, as Arnie said. 5 for 5 is Reno. 0 for 6, the Paw Sox. Part of the story of this game. Here's Josh Bell hitting third in the lineup to lead it off in the 4th. Jacobs and Cleveland will follow. George Rand, Jim Kaat, Mandy Mitchell here. Great to have you with us for the Gildan AAA championship game here in Durham, North Carolina, celebrating 2 teams that have marched their way through the Pacific Coast League and the International League to get here for a winner-take-all showdown. Celebrating minor league baseball, celebrating rebirth of baseball here in Durham as well. Hernandez deals. That's a bouncer right back to the mound. Smothered by the lefty, and there's your first out of the 4th inning.
Well, you have to be happy for the city of Durham. You know, all the planning that has gone into this. And the weather's been great all year, and it did not look. When I saw the weather today, I did. There is absolutely no way. And you saw all the reports, and then it rained so hard, but it moved on through. The ground crew was able to get the field in shape, and I think everybody here, even though it's not a good, tight, well-played game from a Pawtucket standpoint, everybody's pretty happy that both teams are able to get out there and play.
On the way, and here's Mike Jacobs. There are the obvious heroes that you talk about, the players in this game and these two franchises, but give credit to Scott Strickland and his grounds crew. They did a tremendous job to get this field in the great playable shape that it's in, and give our guys credit too. It was brutal here today. You're talking about flooded out dugouts, and around the ballpark was flooded. So I mean, you're talking about a bunch of guys who braved it all. The cameras are covered, but they got soaked. Great job, guys. Peter Rolfe, Johnny Tyus have put together a great crew, and I know that we're thankful of everything that you guys did today. We didn't think we'd be playing this afternoon, but you guys made it happen. Nice job, everybody.
Yeah, you see a game on television or sit in the stands and see a game. Sometimes you don't realize what goes on behind the scenes to make those things happen. The ground crew is a team within a team as well. Talking to one of the young fellas this afternoon when I got here, and he got the call, time to dump the tarp again. You know, after it rains for a while, the crew comes out and they dump what they call dump the tarp. They roll all the water out into right field. But he said, I think we're only going to have to do it twice, but you build up your biceps doing that.
And there are days at the minor league level where everybody, the general manager, the players, the broadcasters, all help dump the tarp if you need it. That's a call, strike three. Jacobs is retired, looking on the strikeout for Hernandez. That's his first strikeout since coming on in relief. If you joined us late, Nelson Figueroa started. Went 2 innings, allowed 7 hits and 6 runs, struck out 2, didn't walk a batter, as the Paw Sox fell behind 6-0. Hernandez came in the third. This is his second inning of work. Baseball and love. It's a great combination, isn't it? Can't lose that. Offensive stars so far. A.J. Pollock, 2 hits, and how about this guy, Cleveland, a homer and a single. A big-time shot to center field. Two for 2 is Cleveland. This one sliced to the right side. Long run is Brent's. He circles, and he won't get this one. 2 misplayed balls in right, and that'll leave Cleveland at second base. I don't know whether this will go as an error. I don't think he ever touched it, but
just misplayed it.
Yep.
It slices back. I think he overran the ball. It should be called an error, but you know, oftentimes they'll say, well, he didn't touch it, but obvious catchable ball, and he knows that.
So another runner in scoring position for Reno, and here comes Taylor Harbin. They'll charge him with an error. Second error in right tonight for the Paw Sox. Here's Harbin, who bounced to second and walked. And off the hands and fouled off. Your favorite minor league stop and what was an outstanding career?
Oh, no question. It was the year in Missoula, Montana, with Jack McKeon, the Timberjacks. You know, we had so much fun that year, and I still have a chance to reminisce about it with
loop to right. This one is handled, and the Paw Sox fans give it a Bronx cheer. Still 8-1. Paw Sox go to the plate. Fun night at the ballpark so far for Reno. They lead Pawtucket 8-1. Downstairs by the dugout, here's Mandy with Brett Butler.
Hey guys, I am with Brett Butler. Man, Brett, you guys really got the magic going tonight. How do you keep your guys focused 8-1 in this game?
Well, again, Pollock started out. Cleveland gave us a boost, and the bottom line is, guys, we got to go out early, and we got to keep the pressure on. That's what they're trying to do.
Now, I know Trevor Bauer's been pitching pretty well most of the game, but he had kind of a control issues last inning. How do you know when he's done?
He'll know because he's got a pitch count, but the bottom line is he knows what he's got to do. He'll make the adjustment accordingly. We hope we can get him 5 or 6 innings in.
All right, thanks a lot, Brett. Back to you guys in the booth.
Thanks, Mandy. Here come the Paw Sox. 82 pitches so far, and that's how you teach me. You know, you learn that sitting with your dad, 8 runs on the board, and you teach your son as you watch the game. That's the way to do it. Is anything greater than sitting with your mom and dad at a baseball game?
My first one was 1946 in Briggs Stadium. Doubleheader with the Tigers and the Red Sox. Ted Williams, Hank Greenberg. Remember it like it was yesterday.
And in our mind it was, wasn't it? Here's Tony Thomas, the number 2 hitter, facing Trevor Bauer. This one hit pretty good, left center field, going back, looking up at the wall is Pollock. He won't get that. Thomas delivers. Tony Thomas, 11th homer of the season, and the Paw Sox have their second run of the night. It's an 8-2 deficit.
Well, as Brett Butler told Mandy down in the dugout, he's on a pitch count, but he'll figure it out. But the other thing, the hitters will let you know sometime when you've had enough. And Thomas gets all of that and enjoys the stylish trot around the bases.
But Thomas' first hit of the night, and the 3rd hit of the evening for the Paw Sox. Valencia a double and Butler a single. They'd like to get Bauer the win to get through this inning, but more importantly, the pitch count that this organization has been leaning on all year. Big swing by J.C. Linares and a miss. 1-1. Talk about a big swing. How about Thomas's swing? Linares misses this one, but Thomas sure delivered with his. Linares struck out, bounced out 0 for 2. And there's a fan that went to get that baseball. Boy, did he make a long run from the right field corner. I think he's running out of gas. Let's see. What's he going to do with it?
He'll find some young kid to give it to.
You hope so. All right. Give him a hand. That's a youngster that gets a home run baseball. Outstanding. Good job, whoever you are in blue. Swing and a miss. Linares retired. Strikeout number 6 for Bauer. Nice job.
Yeah, another power curveball from Bauer. You mentioned last inning my favorite year. I didn't get a chance to develop that with the Pioneer League for the Timberjacks, and the catcher for the Boise Braves that year was our good buddy Bob Euchre. We had this little trap door behind home plate in this old rickety wooden ballpark, and when we came out just before the game, they had this song about the Missoula Timberjacks. He's got the girl, he's got an acre, don't forsake her. You know, McKeon and I are trying to remember the words. Euchre knew every word, still does.
Fly ball to left. Valencia is retired.
But when you talk to players in the big leagues, I talked to Paul O'Neill, for example, the other day, the great outfielder with the Yankees and the Reds, because I live up in Vermont this summer, and he played in a city up in Vermont. You know, he was saying it's my favorite year in the big leagues. So, you know, even the big league minor leagues, big league players don't forget you know, where they came from and how enjoyable and how embraced you become by a community. And like you said, a lot of the club owners are lifers. They don't buy these franchises and sit on them for 5 years and sell them. They own them for life.
Bang down to third. That's a fair ball heading into the corner in the bullpen area. Rounding first, going to second is Andy LaRoche. He'll cruise into second base with a 2-base hit. So a homer and a double in the inning. Andy LaRoche is sitting at second, and As Arnie Baylor said, we need a couple of hits when it counts, and they've gotten 2 pretty good ones in this inning. Now, you talk about, you mentioned a minor league city. For Trevor Bauer, for instance, he was part of our group with USA Baseball. He came here to the Durham area. The USA Baseball training centers in Cary, right up the road here, and he had a host family when he stayed here, and he's remained close over the last 3 years with that family, Sonia May, and every time, you know, she's a big Duke basketball fan. They would call during the basketball season when they'd win a big game, and when he comes to town, he'd make sure that he'd stay with them. He was looking forward to coming here for as much to see Sonia and the family, which was his travel family. I mean, I played in the Cape Cod League, and that was the same thing. You stayed with the family while you were there. It's a great experience, and that's part of the joy of baseball, of hometown baseball. So LaRoche is on after the 2-base hit, and here's Brentz.
Yeah, up in your state of Connecticut, I know people that I've seen him at Twins games, and they say, yeah, we're from Connecticut. You know, we were in New Britain and got to know Joe Mauer and Justin Morneau real well. And they were not necessarily a host family, but they become attached to players in the minor leagues as they watch them grow and become stars in the big leagues.
Brentz. 0 for 2. That's a strike.
I think Brett Butler hoping right here for just another strike or two or an out. You know, it would be a tough decision for him if Bauer continues to give up a couple hits and a walk, and he'd like to see him stay in there, and if they hold the lead, you know, be able to pick up the win.
You would figure if he does get out of this inning that this would be his last.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm not a big believer in pitch counts, but when you see a game like he's pitching today, every inning has been stressful, and so whether you'd be a veteran pitcher or a young pitcher, you can tell he's just about reached the end.
Swing and a miss. You talk about great pitchers at the minor league level, and the Paw Sox, of course, have had a great tradition. And guy we were talking about earlier today, I remember in 1973 he pitched for the Paw Sox, pitched 1 game. He pitched a 13-inning game, struck out 19 through 217 pitches. We're talking about Dick Pohl.
Wow, that's right. You talked to him today, didn't you? Yeah,
a great man, remembered well in Pawtucket as a player, then as a coach later on. 217 pitches.
That reminds me, as does Bauer's night tonight, of you know, the Orioles had a pitching prospect back in the 50s, Steve Delkowski. He would walk 16, strike out 16. I mean, he could really throw hard, but it was just all walks and strikeouts, and if they counted his pitches, it'd be up in the 250s.
Another walk from Bauer, walk number 6 on the night, and at the 98 pitch count, you know that Brett Butler watching very closely this young right-hander on the mound. There's Butler, who flied out and singled.
And they have the executives here tonight. Kevin Towers is here, Bob Gebhardt. You mentioned Mike Bell, the player development or the farm director of the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Ball 1 to Butler.
It's a difference too in AAA baseball today. See, a pitcher like Bauer years ago would still be in class, say, D or C ball. Nowadays, I think players don't even realize that years ago there was D, C, B, A, AA, AAA. My dad would get the Sporting News on a Monday. It would take all week to read it. There was about 26 minor leagues, so you really had to go to the lowest minor league until you proved that you could throw strikes. And then you'd work your way up. And now you have money invested in a top draft pick. They want to get them to the big leagues in a hurry.
2 on, 2 out. That misses, and it's ball 3. Back then, The Sporting News was the baseball Bible, and in this day and age, Baseball America is the baseball Bible.
Yeah, when they started covering other sports, my dad, who'd been a subscriber for years, canceled his subscription. It was baseball only.
True baseball fan, and that's high ball 4.
Well, it's a tough decision to make, but he's going to have to make it. I think. Yep. He made the call.
They get to 100, and that's it for Bauer. You know, Bauer wants to win, wanted to stay in there, but it'll be Mike DeMarc who will come in and take over. He didn't want to leave. We'll take time out for these messages. You're watching the Gildan AAA Championship game on NBC. It's the Gildan AAA National Championship game, a festive night here in Durham, and this pitching change is brought to you by Red Hat. Connect to an ecosystem of innovation. Here's your new pitcher. It'll be Mike DeMarc. Come on, Kitty.
Yeah, and he's in a position right here, the 5th inning, when it looked like the Aces had a pretty comfortable lead, 8-0. This is almost like a save situation in the 9th. You know, he gives up a long one right here, or an extra base hit. It gives the Paw Sox some life. So this is a much more important out in the 5th inning than it normally would be.
So Bauer will not get the win. He goes 4 2/3. 4 hits thus far. 2 runs have been charged against him, and he was as predicted. You know, we knew he'd strike out some folks, he'd walk some folks. He had 6 strikeouts and 7 walks.
Yeah, and again, the compressed minor leagues where you have A, AA, AAA. He's probably in a level right now where he's learning on the job, but he's not really polished enough to pitch effectively at this level yet. But yet, you look at his numbers, 5-1. The record is there, but not much margin for error in terms of his base on balls.
Well, here's John He, the shortstop, with the bases loaded. First pitch swinging, blooped into right, long run. It'll hit foul in the bullpen area. I mean, that would have scored 3 where that was. The runner on first. Butler was already about 15 feet close to the third base bag. That's the kind of hit that Arnie Baylor's saying he needs right now.
Well, as he told Mandy and mentioned that margin for error for DeMarc not very good right now because of all the base on balls.
Talk about a lot of factors in evaluating relief pitchers, and you did everything. You were a starter, you were a setup guy, you were a reliever, you were a closer. Here's DeMarc's delivery, and probably the most important is the inherited runner's number.
Yeah, this is what relief pitchers take great pride in right here. Because if you give up these runs, won't show up on your earned run average, but the effective relievers shut the door and don't give up the other guys' runs.
Ball and a strike. Fouled off 1 and 2. He has walked twice. The first and the 4th walks issued by Bauer. True to his word, the 100 pitch count is what Brett Butler gave Bauer to work with tonight, and at 101 pitches he exits the game. You don't go past that mark with your bosses sitting in the stands.
No, especially when it's taken 4 2/3 innings to pile it up.
And DeMarc gets the job done. The Paw Sox will leave the bases loaded. They are 0 for 7 with runners in scoring position. Paw Sox have closed the deficit to 8 and 2. This is a story about baseball tonight, but also a story about history. Mandy Mitchell gives us the next chapter tonight. Mandy.
Hey, you know, tobacco, the industry of tobacco, a huge part of the Durham history. Behind me, you see the American Tobacco Campus. Now, these were old tobacco buildings. They pretty much gutted them, painted them up, made them really nice, and now it's a really nice place for people to come to the ball game. They can go over. You can eat at some of the restaurants. There are a lot of shops over there. It is completely revitalized downtown Durham. But of course, it all starts with the Durham Bulls Athletic Park. It's a completely different city since the American Tobacco campus in this ballpark opened a couple of years ago. So just a great place to hang out, guys. And as you can see tonight, it's just a beautiful ballpark.
Just a special place, and of course the home also for the movie Bull Durham. And you know, I don't think there's any doubt. I mean, all of us have seen it. Andy, what's your favorite character? Who's your favorite character from the movie?
Favorite character by far, Crash Davis. And I just have to say this to Jim. In case you get in a fight tonight, make sure you don't hit anybody with your pitching hand.
Okay.
Who'd you like, Kitty?
Well, I liked the whole movie because I lived it.
Yep.
You know, I could see McKeon and the manager and, you know, like Mandy, Crash Davis.
Nuke Lelouch. Or how you asked about Robert Wool, too.
Yeah.
He was in that movie. He was Larry. And, of course, Susan Sarandon. Kevin Costner, pretty good, huh?
There were, gosh, there was a series of really good baseball movies that came out about then.
Big swing to left, going back is Linares at the wall, looking up. It is off the wall, and cruising into second will be Tyler Bortnick. So Bortnick gets his second hit of the night, a single back in the second. He later scored, bounced out, and then this double to lead off the fifth. Well, they're picking up right where they left off in the third pitcher of the night, Kitty.
Got Brent Hunsinger coming on for the Paw Sox. And mentioned early in the keys to the game was how deep could the starters go. Now, Bauer had to scuffle through the first 4 2/3, but he did get that far with an 8-run lead, and Arnie Baylor just didn't get enough length out of Nelson Figueroa. And this time of the year, with the long season and the playoffs, the stuff for most relief pitchers is not quite as crisp as it is early in the year or mid-season. You know, there aren't a lot of complete games these days. Relief pitchers can get overused, not abused by managers, but they just get called on a lot. And, even in the big leagues, you'll begin to see some of the relief pitchers that were so effective middle of the year begin to get knocked around a little bit because they've been called on a lot.
Oh, the 24-year-old Hunsinger working from the stretch with the runner sitting out at second. That breaking ball clips the inside corner. He froze him. And Buddy's retired. First strikeout for Hunsinger. So if you joined us late, Nelson Figueroa went 2 innings, 7 hits, 6 runs allowed. Chris Hernandez went 2 innings, 2 hits, 2 runs allowed. And here's Hunsinger coming in the 5th inning.
Must be starting to sprinkle a little bit.
A little bit of a drizzle coming now. Earlier today it was a torrential downpour. Put this game in jeopardy for much of the afternoon. Miraculously, they've been able to get the park ready to go, and we've dodged the rain thus far. Big swing from Roxton, who flied out and singled to second. Hunsinger's been around. It's his 6th pro season. He was drafted by the Red Sox back in 2007. That's a rip to left. Heading back, looking at the wall is Linares, and that's gone over the top of the wall. And Kitty, you and I were sitting down the third base line yesterday afternoon, and all of a sudden we heard a crack of the bat. We both turned and looked, and who hit the bull? He did in BP, and boy, did he drill this one.
Yeah, I'll say. I mean, it looks so much farther than it really is. Looks like you could hit it off that wall. But that's some bat speed. And almost like the monster at Fenway Park, you see it go up over the wall. And very important couple of runs because Paw Sox were starting to put a couple on the board. Now the lead's back to 8.
Well, in Boston, they call it the Green Monster. Here, they call it the Blue Monster. And that had a lot to do with the configuration of the way they built this park and trying to jam that side in. So that wall, a 32-foot high wall down the left field line. And boy, Broxton cleared it, and big time.
And there have been some hit a little farther up there by that building across the street.
Wow. Kicks off the glove of He, but he recovers to get the out at first. So a 2-run shot by Broxton, and it's back to an 8-run lead. That young man's got a little electricity in his bat. You could see it. I mean, you didn't have to say, as Reggie said, you could be blind to know when somebody hits, right?
Yeah,
All you have to do is hear it, and we heard it yesterday.
Yeah, my favorite example of that is when Kansas City trained in Central Florida, Baseball City. George Brett was there. I was doing some baseball spring training reports. He said, come up, stand with me by the cage, but look in the stands. And I didn't notice who was hitting, and I listened to some hitters, and the ball sounded pretty normal. All of a sudden, you heard this crack. It was Bo Jackson, and it had a different sound coming off the bat, like Broxton.
And when we look at some pretty special athletes, was Bo one of the best athletes you ever saw in a baseball uniform?
I think, you know, Dick Allen was a great athlete, baseball player. Mike Schmidt, maybe the greatest all-around baseball player athlete that I've played with. But I think Bo Jackson, if he had not chosen football and not been injured, could have been the greatest baseball player of my baseball era, you know, covering it as an announcer. You know, I played in the American League, didn't see Willie Mays a great deal, but Bo was a special talent, you know, combination of power and speed and famous one-hand catch he made, an unbelievable throwing arm.
Talk about 5-tool players. He had 5.
Yeah. Of course, it's a long-standing argument. Being in the Midwest, I like to hammer Hank Aaron. He did it with a lot less flash and dash, but most guys you talk to would put Willie Mays right at the top of the list.
1 ball, 2 strikes, fouled off. Count stays 1-2 to Tyler Kuhn.
And again, when we mention all those players, if you look at their career, I think Hank Aaron played in Eau Claire. Willie Mays played in the minor leagues. You know, they didn't just wake up a big leaguer. So that's why fans that come out to minor league parks have such great memories, because when these players get to the big leagues, they'll say, like here, oh, yeah, I remember seeing Joe Morgan when he played in Durham.
You tried to quick pitch him a couple of times. We'll talk about that when we return. So far, no quick pitches. The Bull has been paying off on this day. Reno leads the Paw Sox 10-2. Let's show you where we are. 10-2 in the first inning. Tyler Kuhn's base hit gives the early lead 1-0 to Reno, and then a home run later in the inning by Cleveland makes it 3-0. The Reno Aces had the lead. In the second, they added to that a double by A.J. Pollock, who got everything started, makes it 4-0. Kuhn comes back with another run-scoring base hit, 5-0, and then Josh Bell drills a single to center, and it's 6-0. The lead big time for the Reno Aces. Then in the 5th inning, Tony Thomas got on the board for the Paw Sox. He drills a long home run to center field. And after a run it scored earlier in the inning on a walk, that made it 8-2. But the story of this game with an exclamation point, a big swing from Keon Broxton, a 2-run home run in the 5th inning, turns an 8-2 game into a 10-2 lead for the Reno Aces. And that's where we stand as we go back to work with Reno back on the field, and we go to the top of the 6th inning. And the rain has started to sprinkle down here in Durham.
Well, it's an official game unless they've made a special rule for the championship game. You know that that you'd have to play 9 innings. I know they won't call it a suspended game and come back tomorrow. So
the rules and regulations they go by are very similar to a normal championship encounter. If you joined us late, the designated hitter in place this year. Reno is the home team, even though this game is being played in Durham because the Pacific Coast League won the All-Star game earlier this summer. Here's DeMarc back to work in the 6th inning. High hopper down to short. And there's one away. Harbin takes care of the first out. And back to the top of the order. Jeremy Hazelbaker will come to the plate here in the 6th. Hazelbaker 0 for 3. Lynn had walked twice before bouncing out. One of those walks came with the bases loaded, and that forced in the first run for the Paw Sox. Got to come prepared.
Yeah.
Bring your glove and bring your boomer shoe.
And your beard.
Looked like Wild Bill Hagee, didn't he?
Grizzly Adams.
Boy, isn't it great to see baseball bouncing back in Baltimore?
Oh, I'll say. Yeah, that's exciting time. Such a great ballpark there, Camden Yards. Great history when Cal Ripken was there, and before that, you know, Eddie Murray, Brooks Robinson, and now finally the fans in that area have something to cheer about. You know, baseball, John, minor league baseball, it's always been rich in the Carolinas. I know when I was in the Twins organization, we had Wilson, Red Springs, Charlotte was a long-time farm club. And Babe Ruth hit his first minor league home run here in Fayetteville. Even the Babe had to come up through the minor leagues.
You were there for that?
Yeah. I pitched later in that game.
Later in that game. Jack might have been there. McKeon might have been there. You know, you mentioned Cal Ripken, and he is so much a part of Paw Sox history. Back in '81, he was part of that
game.
33. He and Wade Boggs were in that 33-inning game that started one day in April and ended up in June. Rochester and Pawtucket.
Well, now DeMarc is restoring a little law and order here to this game by throwing a lot of strikes. High fastball, good spot to pitch left-hand hitters.
Hazelbaker retired on the strikeout, second out of the inning, and here comes Tony Thomas. The one bright spot offensively for the Paw Sox so far tonight came off Thomas's bat to lead off the 5th. And the bad news is it came with no one on base. So far, the Paw Sox are 0 for 8 with runners in scoring position. Have they gotten a big hit with the bases loaded on 3 different occasions? The story of this one might be a little bit different right now. Second strikeout for DeMarc, 2 away.
Mentioned the Ripkens. That's one thing that former big league players have been able to do. You know, because financially things are a lot better for the players. Is that Cal, and I think Billy's a part of it. His brother Billy is a franchise at Aberdeen. The Brett brothers, George, I think Bobby, have owned and still do minor league franchises.
The Ryans.
The Ryans, yeah. We saw Reed Ryan, Nolan's son, here last night as representative of Round Rock, AAA ball club, farm club of the Rangers.
Hit pretty good to right. Moving in and losing the ball in the lights. It bounces off his glove. And rounding first, going to second, but getting back is Thomas.
That right field has been a trouble spot. I don't know if it's a little dark out there. And this may have gotten in that angle of the lights. Yeah, he had to turn away at the last minute, just lost sight of the ball, and a little self-defense, put the glove up.
Cleveland had a beat on it, and then you saw he shied away. So lost in the lights. On is Thomas with a runner on first and 2 away. And that'll bring up Linares to the plate again. So 2-out runner on. Linares struck out, bounced out, struck out. They're going to charge the right fielder Cleveland with an error.
That's a tough error.
Hey,
I mean,
yeah.
the one that Brent's had, you know, that he had is a catchable ball, but that a lot of times official scorers have a TV monitor in their booth, and if they take another look at it and see how he lost it in the lights, they would probably change that.
And most official scorers, whether it's the sun or the lights, would rule that as a hit if you lose it in the sun or lose it in the lights. And that crackling sound that you hear is the rain clipping against our crowd mics, so it's not your television set, it's the rain hitting the microphones.
Picking up with a little more intensity right now.
Right through the legs of Buddy, and the runner goes down to second. That'll go as a pass ball.
As long as the field is playable and it doesn't rain exceptionally hard, they'll continue to play in this. But in these times too, ground crew has access to the radar, and they'll keep managers informed of what's down the road.
And if you looked at the radar about noon today, you didn't think there was a chance you'd get this game in.
It's all red and yellow.
3-1. High in the air down the right field line. Long run in the bullpen area. Bounce into the seats. Cleveland, long run, good effort. And it's a full count, 3-2.
Nice night to slide. Nice and slippery down there, and just hoping he could slide and catch sight of the baseball at the same time.
He brought his glove, but got to use the shirt instead of the umbrella. One of the greats in Red Sox history, Frank Malzone, I remember, now a scout with the Red Sox, taught me years ago, you come to the park, always bring your umbrella or one of those capes to cover you.
Right.
The veterans taught you about baseball, and they taught you about how to watch baseball too. Still packed in my suitcase every time I come. The other problem is if you get up and leave your seat, the seat's going to get wet, so you might as well bring it so you don't have to get up. That's one. The clear one is the one I got in my briefcase. How about you?
The poncho.
Yeah.
I don't have one. No.
I'll have to get you a Durham one before you leave.
We're so fortunate, being in a broadcast booth, always undercover.
Try it again, 3-2. And there's ball 4. But DeMarc walks his first and is coming on to get the final out of the 5th inning.
And that's a bad base on balls. Not that there are good ones, but now you have to face a guy that's had a couple real good swings tonight and has some pop in his bat.
Valencia, first time up, double to left, then walked, and then fly to left. Two away, they'll play behind the runner at first, and runners at first and second. An error and a walk have put 2 on. Great to have you with us. George Grande, Jim Kaat, Andy Mitchell, keeping you up to date on the Gildan AAA championship game here from Durham, North Carolina.
And what Brett Butler has, if his other relievers can get him to the last couple innings, is a former big leaguer with a lot of experience that he brings in to save the games. Jonathan Albaladejo. I remember him doing Yankee games several years ago. Spent some time in the big leagues with the Yankees.
And he's been money in the bank for Reno this year. Swing and a miss. DeMarc gets out of the inning, strands 2 more. The Paw Sox have stranded 11 on the night. They trail 10-2. Welcome back to Durham, North Carolina, and the Gildan AAA National Championship game. George Grande, Jim Kaat, and down on the field with Randy Mobley. Here's Mandy.
Hey guys, we are joined by Randy Mobley. He's the president of the International League. Now, we've been talking about this rain. It's really started to come down here in Durham. This is a championship game, but you've got some high-level prospects on this field. Where is the line between keeping the game going and keeping these guys safe and ready to go the rest of their career?
Well, that's a bit of a moving line, Mandy, and it's something that we just have to use our best judgment. I'm sure the groundskeepers are monitoring the radar. This is supposed to move through, so the field was covered all day long during the torrential rain, so it can take a little bit of water. They'll keep working on it, and hopefully we'll get the rest of the way through here.
Now, you've been involved in minor league baseball for a long time. It used to be 3 leagues. Now it's down to 2 leagues. How important was that consolidation?
Well, there was a decision made back in 1998 when there were 3 leagues, and at that same time, AAA baseball expanded to match the Major League expansion, and AAA baseball decided to consolidate down into 2 leagues, and a large part of that was so that we would have 2 league champions and be able to play a championship game like this.
Now, Randy, you looked at the meeting yesterday. You needed a 10-run inning for the International League. Yeah, you guys really need that at this point, don't you?
Well, somebody's got 10, but it's not the International League right now.
So you guys need to get on the board?
We do. We need a few runs right now.
All right, thanks a lot, Randy Mobley. He's the International League president. Back to you guys in the booth.
Thanks, Mandy. Mandy and Randy. Sounds like a good show. Josh Bell reaches on an infield hit. Here comes Mike Jacobs. And, you know, you're talking about Branch Rickey. You're talking about Randy Mobley, baseball lifers, guys, and also in the ballpark tonight. Pat O'Connor, the president of minor league baseball, is here with Tim Brunswick from the national office down in Florida. And these guys live and breathe every game in the minor leagues and every season. There's a liner into right, hauled in nicely by Brents this time.
That one didn't get in the lights. Is it Dave Rosenfeld from
Rosenfield?
Rosenfield, yeah. See, during the baseball strike in 1981, I did some minor league games with Ralph Kiner and Warner Fussell, and one of them was in Tidewater. And see, that was 81, and he was involved in minor league baseball then.
In 1983, they had the AAA World Series in Louisville, which all 3 leagues were represented. They had a 3-way playoff, and Davey Johnson was the manager of Tidewater at that time. And they brought up, just like in this particular game, Doc Gooden was a AA, and they brought up Doc Gooden to pitch for Tidewater. And Davey, of course, was rumored to maybe be the next Mets manager. And I asked Davey, I said, would you take the job? He said, sure, I'd take the job, and on one condition, that I could bring that guy with me, meaning Doc Gooden. And he brought him.
He did. Yeah, as Mandy talked to Randy, the 3 leagues, I played in the American Association. There used to be the American Association, and they would, I think at the time they called it the Shaughnessy Cup at one time, minor leagues. I remember vividly when, you know, right now we see a lot of young players here on the field in AAA, but for years, AAA was grizzled old veterans. You know, the Pacific Coast League guys would rather play there in some cases and go to the big leagues because they were making more money, like Steve Bilko, great home run hitter. Joe DiMaggio played out there for the San Francisco Seals. I think Ted Williams played San Diego, and the Coast League then, you know, the Hollywood Stars, that was before baseball expanded and went to the West Coast. That was their big league baseball.
And Wrigley Field's still out there in Los Angeles. The other Wrigley Field.
Right. The first year that well, they changed their name every 5 years, but I think at that particular time they were called the California. No, they were the Los Angeles Angels the first year. They played their games in Wrigley Field, and Bilko was on their ball club, managed by Bill Rigney.
2 balls, 2 strikes to Cleveland. Cleveland's contributed with a homer and a single and reached on an error tonight. Here he's disposed of for the 2nd out of the 6th inning. First strikeout for the new pitcher, Alex Wilson. Wilson gets the strikeout. This is another young man who has some real promise to him. Wilson, good stuff. 25 years of age, 4th year in professional baseball. Originally signed with the Red Sox in the 2nd round in 2009. Here's Harbin. 0 for 2 and a walk. And an offensive night for the Reno Aces of Brett Butler. 12 hits, 10 runs on the board.
Yeah, it's been quite a obvious contrast in the, not really the effort, it's just the intensity, the sharpness. Pawtucket right from the start has sort of looked flat. You know, they have had some time off. They've been at Charlotte working out, waiting for the Pacific Coast League Series to end.
This one drilled deep to left. It will go foul, but boy, that's hit a mile and a half. That had a chance to hit the bull.
Yeah.
Quick bat, Taylor Harbin.
You have to put your jacket on. It's raining. Oh, you're going to take it off. Okay.
How many times did you fight with your mom and dad over that?
I didn't. Not allowed.
Wilson to the stretch. In the dirt. The block by Butler. Short lead off first. This one blooped into center. Coming on hard is Lynn, and he'll glove it. So a runner in the 6th. Nothing to show for it. Reno continues to hold on to a lead. 10-2. Paw Sox up next. The Gildan AAA Baseball National Championship game on the NBC Sports Network is brought to you by Gildan, part of your life. By Brute. Let your man out with Brute deodorant. Brute, the essence of man. Check out Facebook.com/Brute. And by Quintiles, navigating the new health. Entertained by Scott Strickland's grounds crew as they drag the field one more time on this rainy night in Durham, North Carolina. It's seen Reno take the lead 10-2, and part of this Reno story has been offense. And here's our Gildan offensive play of the game. Gildan, part of your life. Let's go back to the start of all of it. It was an offensive night, and A.J. Pollock stepped to the plate in the 1st inning. His triple got everything rolling. Pollock is a triple, a double, reached on an error, has been a part of everything that's going on so far. So for A.J. Pollock, a pretty special postseason. He was the MVP of the PCL championships, and this triple to start things off really, I think, got Brett Butler's club rolling.
Yeah, he sure did, and he's one of the players that Brett said, you know, you ask a minor league manager how many of your players you think will make it to the big leagues. Even though every one of these players here comes with the thought of, you know, they want to play in the big leagues. Nelson Figueroa, the starter tonight, had a rough night. He's 38 years old. He'd still like to play again next year. But realistically, you know, there's only a couple are going to make it. And Adam Eaton went from this Reno club. He's there. And Brett Butler says, I think Pollock has a good chance as well.
Hit hard down to short. off the bat of Andy LaRoche. He's retired, and there's one away. I mean, this Pawtucket club, you talk about, who they lost. Mauro Gomez was the most valuable player of the International League. He's up with the Red Sox now, and he's hitting well. He had another big base hit the night before last. They lost Ryan Lavarnway, who left the club early, and he still made the all-defensive team, even though he left back in the early part of August. They lost Jose Iglesias, who made the all-star team. So
Pedro Siriaco, too.
Yeah. They lost some pretty potent members of this Paw Sox ball club, and they've still surprised and made it here to the championship game.
Yeah, I think fans watching this game, viewers watching this game and seeing Pawtucket, certainly it hasn't been a strong representative of a championship team, but we pointed out at the beginning that this is not the team they've had all year. A lot of those guys are in the big leagues.
And for Pawtucket, it's been a tremendous year for a tremendous franchise. One of my favorite people in all of minor league baseball was Ben Mondor, who was their owner, who passed away this past year. Mike Tamburo, Lou Schweckheimer, general manager, have put together a great organization. And Billy Wanless, who's been there for many years, too. They do everything in first-class fashion. I think the fans of Pawtucket, and you talk to people, even, we mentioned Dick Pole back in the 70s, even back then when Ben ran the ball club, they treated people the right way, and it's been that way for decades, and that tells you how a good franchise is run.
Branch Rickey III was visiting with Mandy Mitchell earlier, and he made mention of the fact what they have to do is, listen to the fans and what they want. And minor league baseball is a very affordable form of entertainment, and nowadays you see more than baseball. There's a lot of attractive things that kids can be involved in. Mike Veck, whose dad Bill was such a promoter in the big leagues, he owned the St. Paul Saints. He may still own it in the minor leagues in St. Paul, Minnesota. You could go down the third base line. They had a barber chair there. You could sit in and get your hair cut while you watch the game.
Well, Sam Demmel gets the first out here of the 7th. Bryce Brent's at the plate, who popped up, flied out, and walked. And he'll walk for the second time. And that'll bring up Danny Butler.
Demmel has a little big league experience. He's been up there before.
The Pawtucket franchise has been a storied one, but there's Rick Burleson next to Brett Butler on the bench, two outstanding major leaguers, and the rebirth of baseball in Reno has been very impressive too. Jerry Katzoff and Stuart Katzoff and GM Rick Parr have done a great job in reinvigorating baseball, and since Brett's been there the last 4 years, they've grown each year. They made it to the championship game of the PCL for the first time this year, and have made it to this game for the first time as well.
Yeah, the Katzoffs, father and son, both got in late this afternoon, so they're here for the game tonight.
And it's tremendous to see the support the Katzoffs got in, and we mentioned Kevin Towers, Bob Gebhardt, Mike Bell, three top men from the organization to get here and support this minor league operation.
Yeah, and I think what that says to the players is that, it's important to them. They want to show that they have some interest in their players. They could easily stay away, not come to the game, and that would leave players with kind of a feeling, well, we're playing a championship game. We're our bosses.
Demmel from the stretch with the runner off first. Down to third, backhanded very nicely. They'll get one at second, and that's all they'll get. Nice play by Bortnick on a wet turf and dirt to get one.
You see him like pat his heart. that was not an easy play. A very awkward hop. Ball hit sharply, and behind the bag, it's the out at second. No chance for two.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned the preparation for the game, and very often at the minor league level, if a general manager comes to town, or if your minor league director comes to town or owners come to town, they'll stay up in the press box area or they won't be around. But I think veterans that they are, Kevier's a bouncer down to third, off his foot, foul ball, so we'll try it again. But you and I both went down in the Reno clubhouse, and who was sitting down there? Kevin Towers, Bob Gebhardt, Mike Bell. So these players saw that this isn't a game that's being played in a vacuum. The big guys are here.
Sure.
And they spent 3 hours in the clubhouse, in the Reno clubhouse. So there was no doubt that they were here and they were watching.
There'll be a celebration party afterward that both teams will attend right across the street here from the ballpark. You know, and regardless of the outcome, it's been a memorable experience for both teams. Last night, those of you that missed what we talked about earlier in the game got a chance to go to Cameron Arena. Mike Krzyzewski spoke. A couple of the Paw Sox, I think Nate Spears was one of them, and Billy Buckner. They said, you think Coach would sign a basketball? And just at that time, I happened to see him come in, and like his mentor, Bobby Knight. You know, Bobby Knight was a big fan of Harmon Killebrew and a big baseball fan, and so 3 or 4 of the players got, you know, they thought ahead and went out and got basketballs, and that Coach Krzyzewski signed the basketballs.
And tonight's starting pitcher, Trevor Bauer for Reno, a big Duke basketball fan. He's had the chance to meet him on 2 different occasions. So for him, the trip to Durham was even more special. And Mike is a big baseball fan.
Yeah, he's very supportive of the ball club here, and talks about how years ago Durham was, you know, pretty quiet town, not much going on here. But they built the new ballpark, and like a lot of cities, even at the big league level, look what Baltimore used to be like. And all of a sudden they built up the Inner Harbor, Cleveland, downtown stadium. Minnesota's done the same thing now. Look out.
Oh, John He hammers that off the railing, and then did it get a fan too? I think it hit 2 railings. Boy, they were lucky. Brett Tomko just about got decapitated. You know, he's thinking about maybe going into coaching. He's at the point of his career. He says, I'm all right. Tells Butler, who asked him. I think it got part of him and not just the railing. One and 2. Fouled off by He again.
Gives you an example, gives you an idea how difficult it is for players to say goodbye to the game. There's a guy 39 years old. As Figueroa, the starter tonight, was 38. He's had some time in the big leagues. I don't know that Brett will ever get back there, but he wants to keep putting that uniform on.
Spent a lengthy time on the disabled list this year with a shoulder injury, and his plan right now is to rehab and then make a decision after he sees how he feels late in the winter months. So he may be back. He may turn the page on it. Difficult, just as it was for Brett Butler. Brett said, I'm still a kid at heart, and I think he shows that, just as Arnie Baylor does with his club. You have to have enthusiasm. You have to have a belief that you can get the best out of your teams. And you know, for number 2, it just hasn't been a baseball battle. He's a cancer survivor twice. He had throat cancer. He's also had prostate cancer after that. Been cancer-free since 1997, and that's the greatest news for Brett and his family, wife and kids that have been baseball lifers as well. And the story about the wedding is a great one too.
Yeah, his son is getting married, I think, in a couple of weeks.
Yep, next week.
Next week. And he asked Brett, he asked his dad, he said, when's the season end next year? And he said, I think it's going to end September 18th in Durham. Quite a profit.
They won the PCL championship, and here they are in Durham. If you're going to think positive, it starts with yourself. 10th pitch of this lengthy at bat. He digs in again. Demmel to the stretch. There you go. A second walk of the inning. 2 on, 2 out. And here comes Lynn.
That'll probably get some more action in the Aces bullpen. He's trying to piece it together and get a couple of outs and get to Albaladejo.
Now, you're the pitching coach. You've been through this before. You've got a 10-2 lead. What's going through your head right now?
Well, I think all pitchers, know that you got a big lead like this. Your object is just throw strikes, make them put the ball in play. And sometimes it's not that they're trying to throw the ball out of the strike zone, but I always thought the best way to get over that, and we've all been through it, you get in a rut and you say to yourself, am I ever going to be able to throw another strike? And again, I go back to Johnny Sain and Eddie Lopat, who were such influential coaches for me, is they trained me to think about, like right now, hit a ground ball to the shortstop, hit a pop-up to the second baseman. Get yourself in a mind of pitching instead of saying, I have to throw a strike. I have to throw a strike. Because when you say that, that's the toughest time to do it.
Lifer baseball guy Grady Little always used to say, think lucky.
Yeah, right.
Doesn't hurt to do that, does it?
But, don't be afraid of contact. That's why I like to take pitchers out and watch the opposition take batting practice when the coaches are trying to let them hit the ball.
Dribbled foul. Try it again. Still 0-2.
Used to do that with Tom Browning and Jay Tibbs and some of the pitchers in Cincinnati. We'd go out, starting pitcher the night before. Let's go watch the other team take batting practice. And the coaches are out there and they're laying it in there. Guys are popping it up and hitting on the ground. I said, it shows if you just throw strikes and change speeds a little bit, the percentages are in your favor.
Ray Miller used to have his Oriole pitchers wear those shirts, work fast, throw strikes, change speeds.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt, does it?
Pretty good motto, no matter what league you're playing in.
Try it again, 0-2, Demmel to the stretch. Oh, that's a rocket into center. They will send the runner, and they'll get their third run on the board. So a bullet base hit by Lynn, who has 2 runs batted in on the night. A bases loaded walk, and this base hit to center.
Yeah, an 0-2 pitch, pretty much right down the middle, and he took it up the middle.
10-3 the score as the runner scampers home. It's been a long night. As Arnie Baylor said, what we need is somebody to do something with a runner in scoring position, and it's taken 7 innings for that to happen. Coming into this inning, they were 0 for 9 with runners in scoring position. So for the first time tonight, Arnie gets a hit when they needed it. 10-3. And back to the top of the order. Jeremy Hazelbaker. Hazelbaker grounded out and struck out 3 times. He joined us late. Trevor Bauer started. That's a hard hit ball down to first. Jacobs will smother it, tap the bag, and that'll finally get the job done. Paw Sox get a run on the board. Bortnick due up. It's a 10-3 lead for Reno. Well, so far the Reno Aces at Brett Butler right there, the manager of the Aces, have entertained the Durham faithful. 10 runs, 12 hits, and an error for Reno. 3 runs, 5 hits and 2 errors for the Paw Sox. Nelson Figueroa started, went 2 innings, 7 hits, 6 runs. Chris Hernandez went 2 innings, 2 hits, 2 runs. Brent Huntsinger went an inning, 2 hits and 2 runs. Alex Wilson went an inning, and here's Jose De La Torre, who takes over on the mound. The 5th pitcher for the Paw Sox tonight. And he'll face the number 7 hitter, Tyler Bortnick. Bortnick tonight, single, bounced out, and double, 2 for 3. Up and down the lineup, there have been multiple stars for Brett Butler. It started with A.J. Pollock, a double to lead the game off. And the inning ended, that first inning, with a 2-run home run from Cleveland. There's a slicing ball into the corner. It'll bounce all the way towards the foul line, and pulling into second with his third hit of the game is Tyler Bortnick. So a single and 2 doubles for Bortnick tonight. This Reno club has had the pedal to the metal all night long, and it starts with the manager, Brett Butler, who was ready for tonight's game and ready to win.
Characteristic of this club, if we were up or down, we could be done 7-8 runs. They never one time throughout the whole 144 games ever gave up, quit. If the pitching didn't come through one particular night, the offense said, that's all right, we'll be all right. And if the offense didn't do, the pitching would go, that's okay. And they always had the ability to pick each other up. That's what made it so great.
Positive vibes from number 2, Brett Butler, the manager, and that's translated tonight into a 10-3 lead here in the 7th inning.
One characteristic you're going to get if you play for Brett Butler is you're going to see a team that plays with a lot of energy and intensity. You know, that's the way he played the game.
De La Torre from the stretch. That's a strike. Butler, of course, played here at Durham over 30 years ago, and during his career, best bunter of his era?
You know, I'm a little bit biased there because I played with Rod Carew.
Yep.
And boy, Rodney with 0-2 count, he could drop down the bunt with the best of them. But you know, he did some more things that Brett really lived by the bunt.
Yep.
I mean, that was his style. He was just a little pest, you know.
And he'd show you a bunt, and then with a 1-strike count, he'd pull the third baseman in and then slap it right by him.
Slap it away.
Only 26 players have over 2,000 hits and 500 stolen bases, and he's one of them.
The player that he sent to the big leagues, Adam Eaton, very much like Brett Butler, except he has a little more power than Brett did.
Gone from his club this year, Adam Eaton, who was the Rookie of the Year and the MVP in the Pacific Coast League. Third baseman Ryan Wheeler, second baseman Jake Elmore, and the catcher Conrad Schmidt, all promoted to the big club. Breaking ball misses. De La Torre has been pretty solid for Arnie Baylor. De La Torre, 26. His 4th pro year. First year with the Red Sox, he was traded for Brent Lillibridge back in July. Another one of a host of deals that the Red Sox made. A hole and a couple of saves.
Live arm, and again, with most of the pitchers as we've seen tonight on both sides, it's just a matter of learning to control their pitches a little bit better.
Buddy's retired. First out after the double. That'll bring up Ian Broxton. And here's our Quintals defensive play of the game. Quintals part navigating the new health. There have been some moments of offense tonight. There have been some moments of defense as well. And a lot of that has to do with the strikeout pitch. Big number 34 came on and got the job done when he needed to. Mike DeMark. Mike DeMark came on to get the outs that they needed. That was in relief of Trevor Bauer. Bauer went 4 2/3, will not get credit for the victory, and they needed DeMark with the bases loaded after Bauer had walked them loaded to close the door, and DeMark did. The defense is pitching too, isn't it?
It sure is. Yeah, and that was oftentimes, even on the big league level, you'll see a relief pitcher get some big outs in the 6th, 7th inning. He doesn't get the save, but at that particular time in the game, that out was as important as a save because Bauer had lost his control, and Paw Sox, you know, were like an extra base hit away from really getting back in the game.
One out, one on. Here's Broxton, who hammered one to left center field over the 32-foot Blue Monster for a home run. That made it 10-2 back in the 5th.
walk through the hallways here at Durham and in the elevators, and you realize what a great spawning ground not only Durham but all the minor leagues are for players that get to the big leagues. You know, this is a Tampa Bay franchise. See a picture of David Price, B.J. Upton, Evan Longoria. I saw a picture, I think I saw a picture of Chipper Jones, but I don't know. He played against.
When it
was the Braves team
coming up.
Yeah.
2-1. That's a little wide. That big swing earlier in the game, Kitty, it was our big swing of the night back in the 5th inning, a long home run.
Yeah, that's way up over that 32-foot wall.
Nice to do that before the bosses sitting in the stands right behind him. Two-two. That'll kick all the way to the backstop, and Bortnick will advance to third. Two errors, a couple of pass balls and wild pitches. That's been the story for the Paw Sox on this night.
Well, again, we need to point out that what you're seeing tonight, it may not look like a championship ball club, because, you know, this may be more almost like a double-A club, because so many of their better players have already been called up to the big leagues.
Swing and a miss. Roxton retired, back-to-back strikeouts for De La Torre, and you know, it was not lost on those that left this club and went to Boston. There have been some phone calls and talking to Gerald Perry, the hitting coach, and the rest of this staff and some of the players. There have been some calls from the major league guys, the guys who left and went up, wishing them luck, telling them, you know, in some respects, and you've been there, Kitty, some respects, you know, yes, you're at the major league level, that's where you want to be, but part of your heart stays with the team that you were with all year.
Yeah, and you like to see those teams, those players do well.
Breaking ball drops in there for a strike. This guy got it all started, A.J. Pollock. He led off with a triple in the first inning. Scored on a base hit by Tyler Kuhn. And then Cleveland's 2-run home run made it 3-0 in the first. And the Aces were off to the races. See a lot of athletes from Florida, California, the Dominican, Puerto Rico. He came out of a small town in Connecticut. And another player whose best baseball just developing now. Swing and a miss. So De La Torre strikes out the side after giving up the double. 10-3, Reno has the lead. Tony Thomas will lead it off.
With the Indians for a while.
There are the numbers on this one. 10-13-1 for Reno, 3-5-2 for Pawtucket. Been a festive kind of couple of days here with a gala last night, and that gala over at Cameron Indoor Stadium, the home of the Duke Blue Devils, included a great dinner. Brett Butler and his Reno Aces were there. Tim Goodman was there to tell a couple of stories from the Durham Bulls perspective, and Coach K was there, a Chicago guy that made it big in Durham. 4 national championships, and of course the Olympic gold medal as well, and he mesmerized those who were there. That's a leader.
Yeah, he talked about his days in Chicago, walking to Wrigley Field, still a big Cub fan. Jensen Lewis taking over the pitching. He spent some time with the Indians in the big league level. Big, hard thrower. And he would be kind of the team character. You could hear him yesterday during he was mimicking their play-by-play announcer, calling the action. He's a high energy guy.
That's a fastball. He's had some save experience. You see 19 on his back. He's had 19 big league saves as well. So you've got double closing possibility right here as you head to the 8th and the 9th inning. And by the way, while we speak about, and you and I have talked a lot about it. I mean, over the years, you're in Major League Baseball, and we're very fortunate to go to a Major League ballpark and broadcast the game. There are so many wonderful broadcasters at the minor league level. Some of them have just gotten into it in the last 2 or 3 years. Other guys like Howard Kellman, who's been in Indianapolis since the 1960s, is a Major League caliber broadcaster. And in the booth next to us are the broadcasters from these two teams. Steve Hyder, Aaron Goldsmith from the Paw Sox, and Ryan Radke from the Reno Ball Club. They're splitting the broadcast tonight, bringing it back to their fans, and those guys deserve a round of applause and a accolade on this night too, because they've stayed with these two clubs all season long.
Well, and just like players coming up through the minor leagues, and it's nice that they have opportunities to announce minor league games. When I played for Jack McKeon in Missoula, our announcer did the road games by ticker tape. Where you'd look at the ticker tape and you'd make a sound the way it would go. But the Boston Red Sox play-by-play right now, a very talented announcer, gets a lot of national opportunities, was the Paw Sox announcer, Don Orsillo, who's now working with the Rem Dog, Jerry Remy, in Boston.
That was Ryan Radke that you just saw there. Right next to him are Steve Hyder and Aaron Goldsmith, guys that grew up dreaming of doing baseball, and they're living their dream just as we are too. That's a hard hit ball down to short after Thomas flies out. Linares grounds out, and there's 2 away here in the 8th inning.
Yeah, Brett Butler has a pretty good 8th and 9th inning combination to come in with some power arms.
Frown on his face right now is, yes, his club has a long road to go to get back in this one, but what a great year it's been for Arnie Baylor, native of Utah, out of Wichita State, career minor leaguer as a player and as a coach. Got a lot to be proud of. Rand Dent will pinch hit. Dent pinch hitting for Valencia here in the 8th inning. Swing and a foul tip.
I'm talking to Rich Silver, their pitching coach, before the game, and he said he's going to run everybody out there for an inning or so, and I think the bullpen's about empty out there except for one more pitcher. And Arnie Baylor going to give all of his bench players a chance to get in at bat as well.
Yeah, I remember we talk about Mike Krzyzewski, and I remember when he went for his first national championship at Duke, and he talked about, and it's true in baseball too, when you get to this point, you want everybody to feel that they are a part of it. And even if they only get in for 30 seconds with a final timeout before the final gun, you want them to feel like and be in the scorebook that you were a part of it. Popped up to second. Tyler Kuhn hauls it in. It's a 1-2-3 in the 8th. Going to the bottom of 8th. Bortnick and Reno with a big lead. The Gildan AAA Baseball National Championship game on the NBC Sports Network has been brought to you by Gildan, part of your life. By Pert Plus 2-in-1 shampoo plus conditioner. Clean hair that smells good too. In, out, done. Don't be an animal. Use Pert Plus. Check out Facebook.com Pert 2-in-1. And by Red Hat. Connect to an ecosystem of innovation. Welcome back to Durham, North Carolina. George Grande, Jim Kaat, Mandy Mitchell. Great to have you with us tonight. Reno, 10 runs, 13 hits, and an error. Took control early. They've led all night long. Pawtucket, the Paw Sox, 3-5-2. New pitcher on the mound with a familiar name, Kitty.
Tony Pena Jr.
The big right-hander follows Nelson Figueroa. Went 2 innings, 7 hits, 6 runs. Chris Hernandez, Brent Huntsinger, Alex Wilson, Jose De La Torre, and here's Tony Pena Jr. as we go to the 8th inning. Bottom of 8. Tyler Kuhn due up. Kuhn, who singled in a run, singled in another run in the second, bounced out and struck out.
Yeah, Reno really took charge. They came out ready to play, and as soon as they put those first couple innings on the 6 runs, you could kind of see the life taken out of the Paw Sox a little bit.
Really, for these two teams in these two cities, yeah, there'll be a winner and a loser, but there's no loser for what they've accomplished this year. And I think that's what, that Mike Tamburro is going to tell his Red Sox players, the Paw Sox players, and that's certainly the same story that will follow the Reno club when they leave here too. It's been a great year for both franchises.
Yeah, the Paw Sox really weren't expected to get here. I mean, they had to make a late run just to get here.
They were the wild card entrant. They played Dave Miley's ball club. Miley was the manager of the year, and what a great year he had at Scranton Wilkes-Barre. They didn't have a home ballpark. They played their whole year on the road. They'll get a new ballpark next year. Miley did a brilliant job, and then they went on to beat Charlotte for the championship, the Governor's Cup. First time they won the Governor's Cup since 1984, so a lot to be proud of.
Yeah, they had to go to Rochester to play their home games, or the Scranton team. That'll be, I think you mentioned it earlier, when that ballpark is built in the last, what, 20, 25 years, 150,
130 plus.
Yeah, new ballparks.
Part of the rejuvenation of minor league baseball.
Yeah, and as Mandy Mitchell reported earlier in the game right here in Durham, it's such a focal point now for the town to come here, and you can have dinner in some of the buildings up there over the outside the stand, so it's a good reason to come downtown Durham. It's really revitalized the area, and that's just one of many stories around minor league baseball.
2 balls and a strike to Josh Bell. Bell tonight struck out, singled in a run, bounced out, and reached on an infield hit. He's disposed of here, and there's 2 away.
Nice play. Even
very nice play.
Losing effort for the Paw Sox, not much to cheer about tonight, but that was a nice play going to his right. I came through Carolina years ago to see, I think, one of my first new parks, and that was the Hickory Crawdads. Moved the franchise, and of course that's what's popular about minor league baseball is you can move from a city that's not doing too well. You can move to another one. You can't do that in the big leagues.
Big swing from Jacobs, popped in to left. Who's going to get there? Will anybody? And gloving it on the run is J.C. Linares. So last roundup time for the Paw Sox. We go to the ninth. It's the Gildan AAA National Championship game, and what a night it's been for the Reno Aces. 10-13-1 for Brett Butler's club. 3-5-2 for Arnie Baylor and the Paw Sox, and a double dip of potential closers that Brett Butler has. He sends Jensen Lewis to the mound, who has a clean 8th, and here's the big guy, Jonathan Albaldejo.
Big league time, pitched with the Yankees. 25 saves this year for Reno. Wow. Sounded like a strike.
And you say 25 at 28. That's 89%. Yeah. That's the way you want to have it done. Big burly guy, throws hard. Trying to cap things off for this Reno Aces club. Not a bad breaking ball either.
It's it creates a lot of tension. A one-game play. Generally in baseball, you're playing 2 out of 3, 3 out of 5, and so you play all year and go through the playoffs and come down to just that one championship game. It's very unusual to do that.
Do you like the concept this year of a one-game play-in in the wild card as opposed to 2 out of 3 at Major League Baseball? Bouncer down to short. Didn't get him. So it's an infield hit for Andy LaRoche to lead off the 9th inning.
Yeah, tried to throw it on the run. Reached for a slider. And nobody makes that play better than Derek Jeter. And throw just a little bit offline, couldn't make the tag, and the Paw Sox have a base runner. I've not been a fan of the wild card in terms of rewarding a team that didn't succeed over the whole season. However, it's created a lot of fan interest, and that's what it's designed to do.
Here's Bryce Brentz. 0 for 2 and 2 walks.
Randy Mobley mentioned to Mandy earlier in the game, you know, they expanded just like big leagues expanded. 2 leagues and several divisions. They have awarded the home team to the winner of the All-Star game like the big leagues have done, and so the wild card fits right in with it.
Well, the Aces have been exactly that on this night here in Durham, North Carolina. In control from the first inning on, and Abaladejo trying to close it out here in the 9th from the stretch with the runner on first. Brentz. Big swing, and that's the first out of the 9th inning. You know, we talked about a lot of stories on this night, but that young man is a pretty special story tonight. The catcher, Ryan Buddy.
Actually, I'm retiring. I've made that known, and I'm going to go try to be a fireman now. I've done this game for 13 years now, and I've enjoyed every bit of it. And I'm just kind of, you know, year in, year out, I'm in the same role that I am every year, and I'm just, you know, I'm going to certainly miss it, but I'm ready to move on.
Some are going to the major leagues. He's going
Some
home.
are going to be a fireman. Isn't that cool?
Midwest City, Oklahoma. And there's a big swing and a shot to left center field. It's off the top of the wall. Rounding first, going to second will be Butler. Rounding third, coming to the plate. Here comes the throw, and he's going to be out at the plate.
Oh, man. You can't have that happen in a 10-3 game. Oh, my goodness.
Andy LaRoche nailed at the plate.
Arnie Baylor, I think, is going to come out just to protect his... Yep. And he ran back. Wow. 10-3 game and a chance to keep things going.
I don't know that he ever touched him, but take a look. You get a better view from this angle. Yep.
It looked like he might have been. So the umpire wasn't really in position to make the call. I think the first place umpire came down to make that call for some. I don't think it was the home plate umpire, was it? Because he was
no, the home plate umpire went to third.
You're right, and he was clearly out of position. Couldn't see the tag, and the Aces got a nice break there.
So 2 away down to the final out, and here's John He, the shortstop. So it'll go as a double, and 8-6-2 will be the putout. But back to Buddy. You know, we've had fun with him the last couple of days. His wife Darcy, his daughter Parker back home, and they're looking forward to just living a real life as will wrap up his minor league career. Grew up in Midwest City, Oklahoma, still lives in Midwest City, Oklahoma, went to Oklahoma State, and that young man behind the plate can go home with the respect of his teammates, his manager Brett Butler, and you know he's left him in there right till the final out tonight.
13 years as primarily a minor league catcher.
When do you call it quits? Hey, you played for 25 years, and I think that last year you still thought you might be able to pitch a little more.
Yeah, I know I could have.
Yep.
But, you know, you have two choices. You go out on baseball's terms. I mean, Buddy's able to go out on his own. Wow. Albaladejo here having a little difficulty closing it out. Or you do what Chipper Jones is doing. Willie Stargell did that. Johnny Bench, you kind of make a farewell tour and go out on your terms. But you can't always do that. Buddy decided to do it. I think most players, you look at Nelson Figueroa, who started tonight, maybe Brett Tomko, they want to keep on playing as long as they can.
That young man started it all tonight. Trevor Bauer, 4 2/3 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, 6 strikeouts, and 7 walks, 101 pitches. He will not get credit for the victory because he only went 4 2/3. The pitch count of 100, that's what Brett Butler stuck to on this night, and he exited after 4 2/3. What a wonderful future that young man can look towards, and we saw certainly a vision of what the Diamondbacks hope will come to fruition at the major league level tonight.
Yeah, he'll probably need to tweak his routine a little bit and change things, but for right now they're going to just, you know, like a young stallion, they're just going to let him go and see if he can find his way and maybe make a few suggestions in his warm-up routine and his pitch selection and fine-tune him.
Jae-Schwan Lin at the plate. Lin, a couple of walks and a single. He's knocked in 2, one with a bases loaded walk and another with a single. So the Paw Sox down to their final out, 1 ball and 2 strikes here in the 9th inning. As the rain starts to come down about as hard as it's been all night right now. 1 and 2 with a runner off second and a runner off first. Two. And we'll go full.
You know, this conditions right now, as wet as it is, that's the most difficult pitch to throw, and Albaladejo keeps, you know, throwing slider after slider. You got a 7-run lead with 2 out and a couple strikes. I think you could take your chances and throwing it in there and seeing if he'll hit it at somebody.
Into left, charging, it will be caught. What a way to end it. Outstanding. Well, he had the biggest hit of the night. Braxton's tape measure home run gave his club a 10-2 win, and he ends it with a brilliant play in left, and that celebration. A 1-game playoff here in Durham, North Carolina, and the 2012 Gildan AAA National Champions are the Reno Aces with a win 10-3 over Pawtucket and the Paw Sox here tonight. And no matter how many games you play, 6 months of baseball, it's nice to end it that way, Kitty.
Yeah, and well-deserved. Brett Butler had his team ready to play. They came out early with 6 on the board, never trailed.
A whole lot more to talk about. Brett Butler will celebrate. So will we when we return. Welcome back to the Gildan AAA National Championship game here in Durham, North Carolina. Reno has won at the Pacific Coast League title holders, beating the Paw Sox the final 10-3. Let's go down to the field to Branch Rickey for the presentations.
I would like to say thank you so much to the Durham Bulls. Terrific host, wonderful for AAA baseball, more than ever. We appreciate everything you've done. Make it to be a worthy successor in our long-line championship. It's my honor now to present this last trophy to the president of the Reno Aces, Stuart Kaat, will step forward. Stuart, congratulations not only for the Pacific Coast Championship, but now for AAA World Championship. Fans, let's have a hearty round of applause for the Reno Aces. Now it's my pleasure that is the most valuable player for tonight's game. And in presenting that award, I introduce to you Mr. Lee Folger, the publisher of Baseball America magazine.
Thank you, Branch. And thank you, Durham Bulls fans, for putting on a great show tonight for the NBC Sports Network. Baseball America, Durham Company, is proud to be a part of tonight's 2012 Gildan.
Watching the presentation, let's go back down to Mandy, who has Brett Butler down on the field. Mandy.
Hey, I am with the winning manager, Brett Butler. Brett, so much of your job is developing players to get to the major leagues. You've done that, and you've won a championship. How satisfying is that?
Well, I can tell you what, I played in '89 World Series. I played in the '91 All-Star game, and I'll tell you what, I'm just excited to be a part of this AAA championship club. These are a great bunch of kids. They put their heart and soul in all year long. We've had guys come in and replace, but I'll tell you what, they played hard, clear to the end, and I'm proud of them.
Now, we talked about this during the broadcast. You told your son, don't get married until the 18th. Now you got to get ready for a wedding, right?
Well, that's exactly right. He'll get married on the 29th. Blake, Rosie, coming home tomorrow. See you tomorrow.
All right, thanks so much, Brett Butler. A big week in the Butler household, George.
Nice job, Mandy, and a tremendous night. Our final score, the Reno Aces beat the Pawtucket Red Sox 10-3. For Mandy Mitchell and Jim Kaat, I'm George Grande saying so long from Durham, North Carolina. Once again, our final score, Reno beats the Paw Sox by the final of 10-3. Thanks for joining us, everybody. See you at the ballpark.